All right, there we go. As euphoric as the 6-0 start to the 2024 season has been for the Miami Hurricanes, their true fortunes for the year could be on the line Saturday at Louisville in what probably is a game against the most dangerous team left on the 2024 schedule. The Cardinals have a high-octane passing game that was created by head coach Jeff Fromm, a former pupil of Howard Schnellenberger of all people, fighting for the Schnellenberger Trophy on Saturday, who refined his scheme over the years when he was in the National Football League and now has pulled it all together for his time here at Louisville as the head coach. It seems to match up pretty well against the Miami secondary that's coming off its greatest struggle of the season last week at Cal. A game where mental busts by the DBs and the linebackers gave up 4 different plays of 50 yards or more and made it a life or death struggle right down to the very end. But like the rest of the team, the pass defense has had an open week to try to get better. And there's hope that we will see the best version of the Miami Hurricanes defense this weekend up there at Louisville for Saturday's 12 noon start on national television. You can debate a lot of things about this team as it sits here at the halfway point of the season. But one thing that is absolutely undebatable is that we have not seen the best version of the Miami Hurricanes yet in 2024. We've seen flashes. The trip to Gainesville certainly was a memorable experience. You have to throw out FAMU and Ball State. They were just non-competitive teams. In the other 3 games since, Miami's had good moments and bad moments. And now we're at the point of the season where the team should start peaking and pull it all together and put out its best performances here down the stretch. The Canes have flirted with defeat the past 2 weeks. That's no secret. Both games going down to the wire. It's been the same type of win some, lose some style of football that has derailed seasons here for the past 2 decades. The difference? Only in 2017 had Miami not lost at this point in the season, and that means the Canes now have a unique opportunity to accomplish significant goals here in the next 7 weeks. We're going to talk about all of that and more tonight as we embark on a new edition of CaneSport Live. Hello again, everybody. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com. We welcome you once again to the show of Canes fans, the People's Show, CaneSport Live. This is your show. It'll be driven by your participation. If you would like to come on the show and you're not pre-registered with us, all you have to do is email us at canesport@yahoo.com. You see the email address at the bottom of the screen. You shoot us an email, canesport@yahoo.com. We will get you connected to our studio, and we bring everybody on the show in the order that they come into the studio. You're also invited to participate in tonight's show with comments and questions in the chat, and we will address those as we go forward in tonight's show. Matt Shodell is going to be joining me again tonight, and then the voice of the fan, Bruce Warner, will join me for the second hour of the show. So you got all that to look forward to. But now let's get this party started by bringing the man himself. I have to tell you guys something. I don't know how many of you guys watch our Good Morning CaneSport show, but Matt is the Stone Crab King, all right? And so before tonight's show, I said, I want to be like Matt. I want to live like Matt. I want to experience stone crabs the way that Matt Shodell experiences stone crabs. So I literally went to a local seafood market, and I camped out in their parking lot until the driver came with the stone crabs that had just come off the boat. They hadn't been cooked yet or anything. And I waited while they cooked up the stone crabs live so that I could get the first batch of the new season and come home and eat them for dinner. What a feast it was. Now I understand why Matt puts forth all the effort that he does to go mutilate and catch his own stone crabs. So I'm ready for tonight's show. I don't know if I'm ready for Matt, but there he is, the Sun Crab King himself, Matt Shodell. And Matt, welcome back to CaneSport Live. I know everybody's happy to see you. Before we get to our guests tonight, talk a little bit about your, I've written so much all week, and I've talked about my feelings on the team and how I don't think they're even scratching the surface of what they can be this season. Give us a little bit of your input on what you feel you're seeing from the Canes.
Well, your monologue is like the Twilight Zone intro where they say the same thing every time, right? The I don't know, the dimension of imagination. Oh, he's gone. Doesn't like what I say, so he leaves. Anyway, every time Gary Ferman talks, it's about every time Gary Ferman talks,
I want to get stage.
It's about how the team can get better. Every game of every year, you can point to how the team can get better. Maybe not in 2001 as much, but there's always things for a team to improve. What I think fans want from you and from me, Gary, is specifics of what can be improved, what's not working right, and what is working right. Because what you never say is this is as good as we're probably going to see. There are aspects to this team at 6-0 that probably Miami's overperforming. You listen to Gary Ferman and they're just underperforming everywhere. There's so much room to improve everywhere. Everywhere is nowhere near the ceiling. There's so much meat on the bone. I don't eat meat. I eat stone crabs. There's so much claw left on the cartilage. I don't know how I would phrase it, but I would argue that that there are certain areas of this team that are as good as we're going to see. And, one of them is Cam Ward. I mean, Gary wants to harp on his 4 interceptions and how horrible it is, but every quarterback throws interceptions. Have they looked ugly? Yes, but there's not a quarterback that's going to put the ball out there the way he does that's not going to have interceptions. And the fact that he only has 4 interceptions out of all his passing attempts and his 20 touchdowns, that's overperforming in an average society. In a Miami Hurricanes world of 2 decades, how do you complain about that? Okay. I would argue Mark Fletcher is running as well as we've seen him run. I think Jordan Lyle has been a huge success as a true freshman. I think the wide receivers as a core are overperforming because I didn't expect much from Sam Brown. Jacoby George, has somewhat kept his head on straight at times, which is as good as it's going to get from him. And Xavier Shep was playing out of his mind good to the point that I think either Mario Cristobal or somebody said that he's the best receiver in the nation. And you know what? Maybe he is, all 5'9" of him. And then, you turn on the tight ends tape. Is Elijah Arroyo underperforming? He's probably overperforming. He's playing as well as Will Mallory, as any of these great tight ends from the past. On the defensive side is, again, where we find some issues. The offensive line, you can argue, can get better, but Jalen Rivers is missing. When he's back, we'll really know, if that line can be great or not. I wouldn't say they're underperforming or overperforming right now. Until he gets back, it's hard to tell. The defensive line, I think, is performing up to standards. The linebackers are not, because Noah has not been playing up to the level he can and did play it last year. And the secondary is right now a mess. So, as much as Gary Ferman wants to say that there's room for improvement everywhere, how they're not performing as well as they should be. It's true because everyone, of course, can play better than they are. But in terms of what the reasonable level of expectation is, I'd argue most positions are overperforming for the 6-0 team.
All right. I'm being polite, so I just took notes. And
that's a new one. Who taught you that?
All right. So first things, no. It's not automatic that you're going to get better as the season goes on. There have been many years that we didn't see the team get better as the season went on, including in 2017 when they were 10-0 and then got destroyed the last 3 games of the year. They did not get better as the year went on. They got lucky in a few games in the middle of the season, were able to keep it going for a few more weeks, but then paid the price for not getting better. Okay. So I will argue.
Well, you didn't hear what I said. Your notes were wrong. I didn't say they will get better. I was responding to the hypothetical that they can get better, right? Because of course they can.
Everybody can get better.
Right. That's what your point's been. Not that I didn't say they will get better. I said they can get better. Of course they can.
The team will get better, and that this team has enormous upside in every area. Like you go to every position on the team, and I walk away with the thought that they're not even scratching the surface of what they can be. And I know that has been a big initiative in this open week for this team. They've tried to be very focused on improving, on tightening up some fundamental things that maybe were falling a little bit by the wayside as the season went on, tightening up their schemes, figuring out what they're doing well, what they're not doing well, throwing certain things out, maybe adding some others. I'm expecting this team to get significantly better here as it goes forward, but it must start Saturday at Louisville. Now, the other thing I just want to comment on real quick is the Cam Ward turnovers, which you wanted to slough off like no big deal because he's only got 4 or 5 of them.
Four that were his fault, yeah.
Okay. Well, based on my observations of Cam Ward going all the way back through camp and on the practice field and now in games, the greatest possibility or probability or whatever you want to call it that I see that this team can get derailed because they're better than everybody they're playing. This is a tough game Saturday on the road at Louisville, but I think Miami talent-wise is better than every team they're playing, and they're going to be favored in every game they play. The greatest probability for this team to get derailed is Cam Ward turnovers. It almost did them in against Virginia Tech. Let's be honest. The turnover at Cal came. I mean, turnovers never come at good times, but they were just coming out of the half. They were trying to rally the troops, eliminate a deficit, and he threw the worst interception you could ever throw in your life to make the hole even deeper. It got to be 25 points. Obviously, magnificent last quarter and a half bailed Miami out. Cam Ward was the man, Superman, Spider-Man, whatever you want to call him, he was. And that's why he's one of the favorites for the Heisman Trophy. But the reason he's not the runaway favorite for the Heisman Trophy is the turnovers. And people have seen the bad turnovers that he's had. So Cam Ward can get better too. He can. And the way he can get better is not turning the ball over, just with careless throws. Now, the coaches are trying not to over micromanage him. Like, you don't want to take away the greatness of his game for sure. It's really up to Cam Ward himself. Okay, the coaches are not going to derail him. He has to get himself under control. He has to understand that in the earlier stages of his career, he has not been a winning quarterback. He's been on bad teams. He's been a 500 quarterback. He has never won anything in his college football life. Okay, this is a very unique opportunity to lead this team to an undefeated season. If he can do that, he unquestionably will be on the stage in New York for the Heisman Trophy presentation. His NFL draft stock will be soaring if he proves that he can win and can clean up his game a little bit. And Miami will be in the thick of the playoffs at the end of the season. So, a lot is riding on Cam Ward, and I think he can get better like everybody else. And the last thing I'll comment on that you said is Mark Fletcher. I've been a big Damian Martinez proponent. I watched him a lot last year. It's a kid that can gain 6+ yards a carry. But we're midway through the season, and it has not been happening yet here at Miami. He's only averaging 4 point something a game. Damian Martinez has got to pick it up as well. And you got Jalen Rivers coming back on the offensive line. I want to see Damian Martinez here in the second half get back to being Damian Martinez. Fletcher's going to play equally as much and deserves to. You want to get into a thing over who should start. I would agree right now, based on the first half of the season, Mark Fletcher should start. But I also understand that you have to nurse Mark Fletcher through this season. He has not been healthy for an entire season. I don't think in at least 4 years, I think, of competitive football. You don't want to go back there. You don't want to overload him. Keep him fresh. Keep him productive. You have other backs that can contribute too. We want to see more of Christopher Johnson. We want to see more Jordan Lyle. There's only so many footballs to go around at that position, but I would personally like to see more guys impacting the game on offense in the second half of the season. I think it will remove the predictability that Miami's always going to go to Restrepo in the clutch and will make Miami much more competitive later in the season when the degree of difficulty goes up and you got to play a potentially Clemson for the ACC title. And then you got to go against teams like Texas and Alabama and Georgia and Ohio State and Oregon in the play. And with that, we're going to go out to you guys again. If you're not pre-registered with us and you would like to be on the show, email us, CaneSport@yahoo.com. We'll get you into the studio. Come on the show. Let's begin tonight with our man, the Italian Stallion, the guy that you'd probably like to go out to the club with on a Saturday night. Anybody calls themselves the Italian Stallion, without question, has a great track record with the ladies. Let's go to James. James, welcome to CaneSport Live. How you doing tonight, my man?
Oh, doing good, bud. Just tired. Just trying to finish up here at the office. I've been wanting to get on the last couple of weeks, but it just hasn't worked out and so forth with connection issues and working late, unfortunately. So, but thanks for letting me come on.
We're happy to have you tonight.
What now?
We're happy to have you tonight.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. First things first, I want to talk about the Cal game real quick. I know it's been a couple weeks, but a couple of things that I observed, and if I'm way off base, please let me know. But could you tell me how many miles it was for you to travel from Cal back to South Florida, Gary?
What is it? It's like 2,500, I think, 3,000. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to tell you this. Jacoby George should have been made to walk back all 2,500 if Miami had lost that game, to be honest with you, with some of the boneheaded things he did. You were spot on saying he might cost us a game, and it still might happen. I hope it doesn't. But, I mean, you've got to be smarter than that. And same with Isaiah Horton down the street from me in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I mean, he has got – you cannot lose your temper in games like that when you could have cost us points. I mean – that I believe that that penalty cost us, and we didn't end up converting that fourth down, if I'm not mistaken. But if we're down there, Borregales' leg is good enough to get you 3 points. So I'm just saying that those are some things that I observe of where this offense is almost shooting itself in the foot sometimes. So that's one thing that definitely needs to be cleaned up, and I hope to God it doesn't hurt us in these next 6 games or whatever we have left this season, especially if it's something crucial against a much better opponent. The other thing I want to talk about is, again, I watch football, the SEC. I watch the Big Ten now, and all these teams and all the cross-country travel that they're doing. But the one thing that stands out to me more than anything is a lot of the contenders for these conferences never get picked on by their own referees. I mean, I've never seen so many calls, so many reviews for Miami at this point. And it's you could lie to me and say that we were the ones suing the conference to leave and not Florida State and Clemson. I'm being dead serious. And I'm not trying to say that some of those penalties aren't, but you have to check every damn touchdown. I mean, it really pisses me off. And it gets to the point where, yes, it's gone our way. But the fact is that I just cannot stand that the opponents and fans and haters and everything of that nature are pointing to the referees and saving Miami, when in fact I feel that at times we are getting hosed. Those were just 2 crucial moments that could have gone easily the other way. I mean, do I need to remind everybody of the safety that wasn't a safety against Florida State last year or Clemson? I mean, I could go on and on about what happened in those games. And luckily in the Clemson game, it went well for us in double overtime. But still, those are just things that are just my observance. Now, for this game coming up against Louisville, do you all know off the top of your head the last time that Miami came off of a loss from the previous season and actually avenged it in a way that, was in classic fashion?
Matt, you got a better memory than me.
I'd have to look it up, but I think it happened. I think it happened the last couple of years, if I remember correctly. It's been back and forth with a lot of teams, but you have to understand, Mr. Italian, or is it Mr. Stallion? I don't know which one you are, whatever you prefer, Mr. That's a fan mentality. I get it, but this team's not saying, hey, because they beat us last year, we got to beat them this year. Like, that's not how it works. This is a team that has almost how many new players from last year? Like, more than half of the starters weren't even here last year. Okay, this is not the same team as last year. This is not a team that's saying we got to avenge every loss last year, and that gives us extra motivation. That's for the fans, that's for the media, that's for the fun noise stuff. But this team's just focused on trying to play its own game, almost to the point that they're more focused on what they're doing than what the other team's doing for a change. Because, and it sounds weird, but Miami, for the first time that I can remember since 22 years ago, they feel if they play their game, they can beat anybody, no matter what. They're better than everybody that they play, versus we got to scheme this, we got to scheme that. We have to really do a lot of misdirection and try to do this and try to do that, so maybe we'll have a chance against this team. That's not the way it is anymore. So, that doesn't answer your question, but it makes my voice come out on this podcast saying words, and that's what I try to do.
I see your point. No, I see your point. The point that I was almost trying to make is you watched how Cal came out. They had the home base behind them, and they played the game of their lives. And I still don't know how the hell they lost to Florida State. That might have been some cross travel or what have you there. But I wish that Miami would come out and really just punch Louisville in the face, take the crowd out of the game. It's a noon game. It's classic recipe for where Miami's come out and sleptwalk and lost games like this in the past. I hope that it's different this time, and what you're saying is true. And I'm not calling you a liar. I just would like to just see the team come out focused, try to limit the mistakes, and just come out there and punch somebody in the mouth, like so many other teams that really weren't even on Miami's level with how we've been the last few years. Everybody gets up for Miami. For once, I would like us to get up and absolutely just knock the crap out of somebody. That's
Isn't that kind of learning how to win? We take winning for granted here, but the current Hurricanes have never won. I mean, we've been garbage for years, and I think learning how to win is a lot of what this team is going through. And we've called it win some, lose some, same plus same equals same for the past several years. And really, when you're life or death to beat Virginia Tech and Cal, it's no different than when Al Golden was here, when Manny was here. God, I mean, I hope Mario's not watching the show. He might punch me through the screen. But, I mean, the program is considerably better. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind about that. That's why I'm saying this team is just scratching the surface. But the games itself have really not been that different. The victory in Gainesville was very classy, top to bottom. Team was very well prepared. But these last two have been not too dissimilar from what we've been seeing here for years. So maybe these kids got to learn how to win, and then they'll do more of like what you're talking about, and take charge of games earlier, and be more solid from the first quarter, and then they're not pulling off miracles in the second half.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with that. And I think that I agree with you to a point, Gary, that they are just scratching the surface. And maybe I just know that it's different than what we've been accustomed to the last couple of years with some of the playmakers. You've got a quarterback for the first time, I'd argue, in almost 20 years. I mean, there were some bright spots with guys that we've had under center, but I'm talking about the consistency and the numbers this kid's putting up. He's got that it factor. There's something about it, and I love it. I absolutely love it. And I really would like to just see them kind of pick up where they left off with Florida, because realistically, maybe they might come out and be really motivated to beat Louisville. I saw them come out against Florida, and Florida's not the usual Gator team, but I'll tell you, Tennessee needed every break to win that game on Saturday. And I was really kind of hoping for Miami's purposes that Florida did win that game, just to show that that was still a quality win for Miami, in my opinion. To go down there in the swamp and do what they did, I mean, that shouldn't be overlooked. It took Tennessee to beat the backup freshman quarterback and running back when those guys got knocked out. We didn't have that happen until the fourth quarter, at least with the quarterback. So I'm just saying that I think that they are just scratching the surface. I hope that they are focused and get it done, because it is in front of them, and they have a great opportunity. And I really would like to be in Charlotte this year. And I'm not really afraid of Clemson. I don't think Clemson's beaten anybody all that great. I mean, honestly, you look at their schedule. I think you're right with what you said on Good Morning CaneSport a couple days ago, that we're going to see what they're all about when they travel to Virginia Tech in Blacksburg. and Pitt and those type of games. I think they play Pitt. But I'm just saying that I'm not afraid of Clemson, and I just think that Miami just needs to play their game. And there are holes. I mean, you're right, Matt. The linebackers and DBs are, been a little suspect the last couple games. Hopefully they can get it together. They're going to have a heck of an opponent that's going to be throwing the ball all over the place. But I just hope that Miami does what they need to do to not beat themselves. Stupid turnovers, stupid penalties. They cut that stuff out. These teams remaining on their schedule, there shouldn't be anybody within 2 touchdowns of them. That's just my opinion.
It's fair.
Yeah, absolutely.
I did have a couple questions for you guys.
Go ahead.
What are your thoughts on any of the players that are, like, for example, we're looking at some recruits now more in the 2026 cycle. Is there anybody in the 2025 cycle that you feel that they could still flip, that could potentially really help us in some areas of need, like defensive back and other positions of need?
Yeah, I mean, DJ Pickett is one that comes to mind for sure. I would almost predict that. TJ Alford is a defensive lineman that they are continuing to make decent traction with. That one comes to mind. I am not very optimistic about Elijah Griffin, who's announcing this week. He's still listing Miami. I don't see that one happening. Who else? I'm trying to think who else, Matt, that we should throw out there right now. I mean, several of the receivers.
Malachi Tony, I think.
Yes, Malachi Tony. I think you're going to see come back into the Miami fold. I would be surprised if that did not happen. But we're getting pretty near to the end here. I mean, we're only 6 weeks from signing day.
Yeah,
and it's right after the end of the season. So, I don't know that we're going to see that much more movement in this current class. I mean, like I said, I think there's a few guys that they could still add, but it's got to be getting pretty close.
One last thing, Gary, I appreciate you letting me know about those names. We'll definitely have to keep an eye on them. One last thing, we mentioned in the past couple of weeks, I forget who it was, but maybe that Ray Joseph could be a transfer candidate and so forth. Are we already kind of starting to see that? Because it looked like on a couple of punt returns, and I don't know if that was because we were down by so much. I saw that they had Restrepo back there as well, like both of them able to possibly return both. Maybe it was something just in situational. But I mean, is there a chance that maybe even Chris Johnson could get a look back there at punt return? Because honestly, that's been one thing that's been missing from this team, is the dynamic of the field position. And I know I'd rather have a fair catch than a horrible turnover deep in the other team's territory. But at the same time, I just feel that they need to get Chris Johnson on the field as much as possible.
I think in some years you would love to have multiple specialists. This team, the way this team is built, with the top 4 guys at receiver commanding most of the reps, there's just not a lot of turns for the Ray Josephs of the world. And I don't know if they keep recruiting the way they're recruiting. I don't know if that will change. So yeah, I do think Ray Joseph is a transfer candidate after this season. Hopefully Christopher Johnson is not. I think he has so much more to offer. But the problem they're having is that when they bring him in the game, the other team knows he's getting the ball. Yeah. So it's starting to get pretty predictable now. Like, they were able to get away with it a couple times and do some things with them, but it's really, really hard with those guys when you bring them in for a play here, a play there, and they're almost definitely getting the ball on that play. It's very tough to be successful that way against a decent team. So it'll be interesting to see. That was one of the things that I threw out there. I would like to see Christopher Johnson more involved here the second half of the season. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I hope they just give him a series. Maybe if they give him a series, it may not be like, oh, well, he's out there, but he's getting the ball running it, not just for a decoy or throwing it deep, just because he's faster than somebody else.
The problem is you have a power run game that's not built for him.
Yeah.
He can do it. He can do it in spots, and I hope they use him some like that. I don't disagree with you. But you're going to put him in there instead of Jordan Lyle. I mean, you can only have one guy in there at a time. There's too many guys right now that do the same thing. Jordan Lyle is a power runner with breakaway capability, like Christopher Johnson. So it's a tough thing for the coaches with a different set of personnel. Like I said, I think maybe there would be more reps for these guys, but right now with this set of personnel that Shannon Dawson is managing, and I think doing a spectacular job this year. I mean, other than getting more guys, meaningful reps to impact the game. He's really been coordinating this whole thing as well as you can, as much because he's letting Cam Ward be Cam Ward than imposing a system, a strict system of executing a play onto his quarterback, who is built in a little bit of a different way than your traditional quarterback. So
absolutely. Right, well, I predict that we win. I think it will be. I'd like to say that we win by 2 touchdowns. I'm going to go with that prediction and roll with it. And let's just keep this thing going. And you guys just keep doing your thing. And God bless you guys. Love you.
I hope you're right. I am expecting an insane football game on Saturday. Just a crazy football game. So we'll see.
And by the way, Chris Johnson to me is more likely to transfer than Ray, because it's not about how they're being used this year. It's about how they'll be used next year. And Xavier leaves after this year. So Ray would be in line to be the starter, hypothetically, whereas Chris Johnson's going to be behind Mark Fletcher and Jordan Lyle next year. I don't imagine he'll stay in that situation.
And Martinez can come back another year.
Martinez could come back. So.
That's true, but
he can't leave if this season continues like this. I don't think. But
I think Martinez, if he realizes he's not as good as Mark Fletcher and maybe even as Jordan Lyle, he'll leave because he's going to be the third string guy next year. He can transfer again. So I don't know. We'll have to see how he plays.
Yeah,
the rest of the year.
All right, guys. Great show. Later.
All right, man. Thank you. Thanks for being part of it. All right, tonight's show is sponsored by CaneSwear, your ultimate authority for all your Miami Hurricanes merchandise. If you have not loaded up on gear yet for this season, haven't gotten your Cam Ward jersey, go to CaneSwear at 2655 South University Drive in Davie, or you could shop them online at caneswear.com. We'll talk more about CaneSport later in the show, but we thank them for being the sponsor of this show this entire season. Now let's go out to our man who is at work, chomping at the bit, as always, to give us his weekly take on what's going on. That's our man, Kane.
What's happening? Hey, Matt, nice article, buddy. You did something. I like that. Hey, Gary, you do good articles, but Matt really went into detail about this Louisville game. So I'm going to say, Matt, I'm 100 with you. Let the fold down linemen do their thing. We don't need to blitz all the time. This quarterback can't really run.
Correct.
If this jackass come out, if that good coach, defensive coordinator, because he's has been good, but if he blitz, they probably going to light our ass a new one. But we do got Cam that can light them a new one too. But play the game. Give them something they ain't looking for. I agree, because everybody knows they're going to bring that front four and they're going to blitz, bang, and they're going to do this. But if they do that and that little speedy running back they got was the number 25, oh, damn. And then the receivers, he made a good point. But like I said before, the sun going to rise on the 305 to get all the other BS. Hey, Gary, you said at the beginning of the year, you saw 2 losses. Last week, if we lose 2, it's a terrible season. You can't do that, Gary. You can't change it in the middle of the season. You just can't. Matt, I think Matt was on the borderline. What were you, man? Two games. We can't lose more than 2, right? That was the key. I know the schedule looked whack, but look at all these other teams that struggle. Look at the Ohio State. To me, someone playing, you don't bring your damn game, you're going home with a L. Point blank period. There is no dominant team, maybe Texas. Texas is the only one that look like they doing a little something. Damn Alabama, forget the Georgias, forget the rest of them. But at the 305, do what they're supposed to do and play accordingly, or play like they did against Florida. To me, Florida has been their best game. Even though y'all say Florida was not a good team, but hell, like they said, Tennessee, if Mertz didn't fumble the goddamn ball before halftime and then he got hurt, they would have beat Tennessee. I believe it. The young quarterback, he's still young. He's still trying to get it. So if I go with quarterback play, and when you're betting with FanDuel and stuff, you try to get the best quarterback. I'm going with Cam. I don't care about no blowout. I don't care if the field goal kicker kick a 90-yard damn field goal, long as we win, period. So it ain't too much more to say. It's been a great season. Let the tide ride, and then, after this game, oh, hell, we really got the tide ride on Sorry ass FSU, but it's football. And remember what y'all said last week? I'm getting ready to go. Oh, there's no way Virginia could beat Louisville. Damn it, they were this close. And I was going to eat y'all a new one. But they pulled off, so I got to apologize. Y'all got it right that time. By the skin of y'all hips. Yes. 305 ride or die. See y'all in Florida. Next week against Florida State for homecoming. Love y'all. You do a great job. Keep getting them good folks. And man, if Gentry don't do what you said, it could be a problem. But we're going to win anyway. 10-4. Love y'all. 305. Ride or die.
Hey, you won't let us change our predictions in the middle of the season, huh?
Hell no. You got to keep it in your mind.
I would change.
You got to keep it in your mind.
We pulled the rabbit out of our hat the last 2 weeks. I would definitely change.
Yeah, we did pull the rabbit, but man, it's like that. It's football. Let's play the game and see what happens. Like FSU, we can look to blow them out, but that's a rival. We don't know what the hell really going to happen. Last year, they were supposed to mud stomp us, right, with all that talent. And if Emory didn't get hurt, there's a possibility we would have won. Then they put TDD in the game, no offense. The time he should have threw the ball to Restrepo wide open, he looks away and throws it to George, and it got picked. I'll be damned. Well, that's last year. Let's keep it rolling, baby. Go to the next member. See y'all. Love y'all.
This is the
all
one.
Right now. Yes, sir.
This is the one on Saturday.
This is the one? Well, let it be. This is the one. Let it be.
Don't sleep too late. I don't care what shift they give you the day before. Don't sleep too late. This is the one Saturday at noon.
Man, I've been to every damn game. I can't make that game. I'm a season ticket holder. I've been to Florida. That was the game. Florida. This, that. Hell, I'll be in the rest of them. I got 3 more home games. Florida State, Wake Forest, and Duke. The Manny game. Everybody want to see that game.
All right.
Don't you? Yeah. Y'all take it easy. Right on.
Yeah, be good.
He was talking to me, and you cut him off. I want to know where he got his gasoline hat. I want that hat.
Gasoline hat.
Costco, baby, where I work for, my company, Costco Wholesale. I can get you one. I tell you what, man.
Let me ask you something. So Kirkland makes tuna fish and gasoline?
Man, they make toilet paper, paper towel. Man, Costco one of the biggest companies out there. Sam's and BJ can't do nothing with Costco, bro. Nothing. The only thing Sam's has better.
I'm telling you right now, Canes, I'm not having the Kirkland tuna fish anymore. I didn't know they make gasoline. I don't want any cross-contamination in there. I don't need that. I got enough problems without that.
They make ice cream. They make wine. They do it all.
My man Jake's not coming there to buy his wine anymore either.
It don't matter. Everybody else will. Thank you.
And T-Dog's not coming to buy whatever he's drinking. We're done.
Everybody come to Costco.
We're not in Costco anymore.
Don't worry. For the ones that won't, everybody will. Y'all take care.
All right, Kane. One thing we haven't talked about yet this week is the significance that this game is at noon. I thought for sure this was going to be a night game. I expected Louisville to be unbeaten like Miami at this point in the season. They screwed up. They lost two games. And now they put the game at noon, which I think is a huge break for Miami, Matt, that they don't have to play at night up there. I mean, that's a tough venue at night.
It helps maybe a little bit, but I'm not going to put a big emphasis on that. There's way more important factors. That's probably 100th on my list of factors that are actually going to matter in this game. If it was going to be a 95-degree day in Louisville at noon, then I'd say, that's a positive for Miami. But, you're still on the road. It's still going to be a very loud environment. The fans won't be as drunk. The students might show up a little bit late. But that's about the only difference I can see. And you could see a little better in the daytime when you're really old like us. And at night, it's harder to see. These young gentlemen, it doesn't matter. They can see whether it's dark out or light out. And they got I believe they have lights at that stadium. So they probably could have played at night also. I think it would have been okay either way.
I think it's a big deal. I think that it does take a little bit of juice out of the crowd and gives Miami an opportunity here to come out fast out of the gates.
That's the key. The key is to start fast. The crowd's juice, I find it very overstated. Some teams play better on the road than they do at home. The New York Giants, Daniel Jones can't throw a touchdown at home. On the road, he lights it up. It just depends on the players and how they function. I don't think Miami cares. I don't think Cam Ward cares if he's on the road against a really loud crowd or on the road with nobody in the stands. As a matter of fact, he might prefer it really loud and crazy. Some players respond better to that. I don't think that's a big deal.
All right, I would go to Greg, but this is all I see. Okay, so
Greg, where's Greg?
Oh, there he is! There he is!
Oh no! Oh no! It's a big bad Greg. Don't do it to me, Greg. Do it to Gary.
Okay, Matt.
No, Gary.
Matt, I want to know what game you were watching Sunday night. You said the Giants got called for 5 illegal men downfield.
I said 3,
I don't
4,
know
or
what
5.
game you
3,
were-
4, or
No.
5. Yeah.
It was 1, maybe 2 at the
All
most.
right, I'll call it up, Greg. Just for you, I'm going to call up the play-by-play, and I'll look it up for you. Okay?
Okay, now let's get into this. I want to discuss this powerhouse offense of Louisville that you guys are talking about. They scored 24 against Notre Dame, 27 against Miami Light, aka SMU, 24 against the mighty Virginia Hokies, and 31 against Georgia Tech. That's not a powerhouse offense, in my opinion. Okay? Miami scored 39 against Cal, who's given up 13 points a game other than that. That's a powerhouse offense, Miami, not Louisville. Okay? Louisville's lucky they only have 2 losses. All right? Now, do I recall last year we got killed by the tight end against Louisville? Do you remember that?
I do. Yes.
Okay. You think Guidry will look at the tape of the last 3 games Louisville's played, and maybe we can control them a little better than we did last year? But anyway, this quarterback from Louisville, he's a 7th-year player. Wasn't he recruited by Mario?
He was recruited to Oregon by Mario, and then he went to, I think, Texas Tech, and now came to Louisville. I don't know that it's 7 years, though. I don't think it's 7.
Yes, it is. I heard it was 7. Whatever. Anyway, don't you think Mario has a little, he would know his tendencies a little bit?
Yeah, to a degree.
Okay.
I mean, he's got to be a different player at this point. You're talking 4 years down the road here. You know.
Okay, like this Italian stallion gentleman was mentioning. Florida, terrible team, but they should have beat the immortal Tennessee Volunteers. By the way, where are all these great defenses in college football? I see every team giving up points galore. Alabama, where's their defense? Where's Ole Miss's defense? Where's LSU's defense? Where's Georgia's defense? Who has a great defense? What was the score of the game the other night? 32-31, Oregon and Ohio State. So maybe we could say Texas is a great defense. One team. So it's okay. Miami, I'm giving you the final score. You ready? 38-21.
All right, so listen, Greg, you were correct about the Giants. There was one downfield ineligible. They did throw the ball, however, to an offensive lineman at one point, which, you know, I was conglomerating a few different things, but you're absolutely right. It was just one downfield. You were 100% right. Regarding the defenses, however, you're not so right, because Texas is #1 in the country in total defense, 229 yards.
I said they had a good defense.
Yeah, Tennessee is #2, Ohio State's #3. So, you know, some of the good teams have done pretty well on defense, not just well on offense. But your point's taken. I think it's an offensive generation. You know, this is not, you know, it used to be defense wins championships. Now it's offense wins championships. So to that extent, you're also correct, Greg. Okay, you happy? You're gonna leave me alone now?
I'm very happy. Listen.
Well, I'll hold up a note that says Greg is right every time you're right. You want me to I'll order something for you? A little placard?
I just wanted to let you know you should start eating some meat. It's good for your brain. You might remember how many times. All right, enjoy your stone crabs. I'll talk
Thank
to you
you.
next week after we beat the immortal Louisville Cardinals.
And
See you later.
I do eat meat because stone crabs are the chicken of the sea.
Oh, okay, yeah, all right. Whatever you say. Have a steak. Good night.
I do have chicken. I have chicken a lot. I love Three Chefs.
Oh, you
They should be-
do?
Three Chefs should be a
You said you
sponsor.
didn't eat meat.
Oh, I don't eat steak or hamburger mainly because I don't digest them anymore very well. You know, you don't want to be around me if I'm eating steaks and hamburgers, Greg. So you know what? I'll go out and eat a hamburger with you. How about that?
Sure. Next time I'm down there. All right.
All right.
Nice
All
talking
right, Greg.
to you guys.
Good seeing you again. Yep. All right, let's go to everything 305.
You don't want to hear more about my digestion problems? That's it? No digestion questions?
Go ahead.
No, I'm just kidding. Nobody wants to hear about my digestion. Go. Next.
All right, let's go to everything 305, audio only. Everything, welcome back to CaneSport Live.
Gentlemen, how we doing tonight?
We're doing great.
What's up? I love the disembodied voice. That's like it's like old school.
I'm glad to hear we're all doing well. Gary, you asked a couple interesting questions yesterday at the press conference, so I was hoping you could give us a little bit more insight on what you were trying to get to with the changes you were hoping they had been making.
Well, all right. So
similar to that yesterday.
When I look at this team, you know, I look at every position and I see chances to massively improve. I mean, Cam Ward's got to stop turning the football over. As good as he is, if he is going to be turning the football over, that will compromise winning. It has already this season. We will see it again here in the second half of the season. He's got to just get himself. He's got to find the wheelhouse between being him, which is unbelievable, obviously, and hurting himself and his team with turnovers. Because as we all know, being football mavens across the board, everyone that's watching the show, turnovers are very hard to overcome in football games. So Cam Ward has got. Other than that, he's been great. He's got to protect the football. At the running back position, I think Martinez has so much more to give. I think Fletcher can do even more than he's done. You got to manage his reps. Okay, you don't want to overwork Mark Fletcher. You're trying to get him through this season healthy. It's really important to this team. I mean, you see the value of Mark Fletcher, but I mean, he can do more. Jordan Lyle can certainly do more. Christopher Johnson can certainly do more. The onus is on Shannon Dawson to make sure he doesn't allow all of these other guys to disappear from the football team, keeps them engaged, gets them involved. He's going to have to get a little bit more creative with Christopher Johnson, like I said, because of the predictability of every time him coming on the field, he gets the ball. I look at the tight ends. I mean, Arroyo is as good as any tight end in the country. Okay, he's had some great plays, caught the winning touchdown pass at California. Had one deep pass up the sideline. I think it was against South Florida. He is capable of really busting out the second half of the year. I think he's as good as any tight end in the country. I think that he could be utilized so much more. The receivers, I think they've all flashed at different times, but when it's been crunch time, the ball's been going to Restrepo almost exclusively. I think they got to become a little bit less predictable there as they get ready to play better teams here later in the season. I would like to see that get rounded out a little bit for this team to maximize itself. They have the capability. I would like to see them get the chance to impact the game more. Isaiah Horton's having a great year. He's got a couple hundred. He's got almost as many catches, I think, as Restrepo, but a couple 100 yards less. Okay, I'd like to see that kind of balance itself out. Like, I love Xavier Restrepo. To me, he is accomplishing as much with what he has to give as anybody I've ever seen play for the Miami Hurricanes. But I'm not invested in him obliterating the record books. Okay. I think for this team to be as good as it can be at the end of the year, these other guys got to be contributing at least close to equally to Restrepo. Just my opinion. Don't know if I'm right or wrong.
I don't understand why they always throw to Andre Johnson. Like, why do they keep throwing to that guy? Get
That's
the
not
other
what they
guys
did.
involved.
That's
It makes
not
no
what happened,
sense.
Matt.
I don't understand.
No, that's not what happened. It was never about one guy. It was never just about Andre Johnson. That's what made it so great. Like, you had other guys. You had Portis, you had Shockey, you had different guys that were all getting opportunities to be the man at different points of games and along the way. It wasn't just.
I think a big part of that, though, Gary, was that you had a masterful game manager that controlled, and I mean, he wasn't the physical alpha, but he was the mental alpha about Ken Dorsey. And I think he's the reason why a lot of those things happened during that time frame, is that he was in charge out there, and he distributed the ball, and he did a phenomenal job of always what was given, he would take. He would only press the envelope every once in a while, and he relied on his offensive line pretty much establishing the line of scrimmage and maintaining it. I think he's the best answer to that question that you just had, is you had that as a difference maker. On the opposite end, what we have is the ultimate playmaker, and sometimes you're going to live by him and you're going to die by him, and what you get is what you get. So in terms of eliminating the turnovers, I don't think that's ever going to be the case. That's been who this guy has been since day one. If you look at all the tape, if you look at all of his numbers, his biggest issue when the scouts looked at him was turns the ball over too much, tries to make the elite play at the wrong time. So that it's not a level of selfishness either. I don't misinterpret what I'm saying, but what it is his mentality of, I'm a winner and I'm going to win every throw, and if I don't, I'm going to win the next one. So he possesses a different frame of mind that we've had here at the quarterback position going back. I don't know how. I mean, maybe the closest guy before that might have been, maybe Gino, who would just, I'm going to sling it and screw it. That's the type of mentality this guy has. I will say that what he also has provided this group is what Dorsey did, which was give them a sense of ownership, leadership, and pretty much it's us against everybody. And just believe in me and trust me. We haven't seen these things from our quarterback position in many decades now. So we've got all this going for us, but at the same token, other guys have to step up and get better mentally. You can't have a guy getting penalties still that are with no purpose in Jacoby George. That's got to stop. It continues. There's no accountability there.
Well, how about Isaiah Horton? Isaiah Horton on the winning drive kicks a guy, like gets a 15-yard penalty. Like you've got to be better than that. But I think you got the point. I went through the offense for you, and you could do the same thing on defense. There is many ways, so many endless ways that this team has upside and can get better. I think they are just scratching the surface, and I think that's good for the Canes because they're 6-0. They're number 6 in the country, and if they can find a will and a way to get better, they're going to get through this season potentially undefeated. Obviously.
Well, talking about defense, Matt's piece earlier about getting with your front four getting more pressure, not having to blitz as much. I'm hoping that we're going to see a little bit more zone schemes incorporated. The impact that Ruben's going to have on that front four, I think that's going to be impactful. But if those things come together and we can eliminate basic plays from becoming quick scores for the opposing team or big plays for the opposing team that are going to result in a score, I think if you're able to limit that and at least be a little bit more efficient, okay, that's going to help this team in terms of being able to manage the game better. And then on the flip side, controlling the time of possession, running the ball effectively, and throwing the ball when we need to. We talked about that we're almost throwing the ball. I mean, it seems at times, guys, that we're like 70-30. That impacts your defense. But also it impacts your defense and how thin we are right now in terms of the bodies on the back end, how inexperienced we are. And that's not going to get better because Damari Brown ain't coming back this year. If he does, it's going to be just, maybe at the bowl game or something. So at this stage, what you have is what you have. Those guys have to become more efficient. And the one way you can do that is to simplify things a little bit more, be a little safer on the back end, give a little bit more, okay? So it's not like you're dying a slow death, and then run some games from there, a little bit smoke and mirrors, and do those type of things that can help you. But the front four, they have to take control of the line of scrimmage. And that's where we need to go. If not, we're going to continue to have these where we have to outscore the opponent.
Yeah,
and those type of contests are hard to deal with.
Tyler Barron, to me, can do massively more than what he's done the last few weeks. Mesidor, I mean, I don't know if it's because he's moved inside, so he's getting less opportunities, and he does tie up guys and do things that you don't see in the stat sheet, no argument. But he could be so much more impactful than what he's been. Ruben Bain, his season's just beginning. So the defensive line, to me, is just getting started. I mean, another textbook example of how much upside this team has.
Here, I'll make one point, just because I haven't spoken in a while and I've been behaving myself, so I get to make one point. If this season does go south, and if it's because of the secondary, which probably to me is the only reason it could possibly go south, then it's a travesty, because we were, well, at least I was, I think you were too, Gary, we were banging the table even before the spring, saying the secondary is the question mark. The secondary is the question mark. They knew that after the season was over. You know, you got your two safeties leaving. You got very little proven talent back. You had one returning starter in Darryl Porter, who looked good last year, but has had no interceptions his whole career, basically. Only got a couple at West Virginia. And they went out and did nothing in the transfer portal. They got Mish Powell, okay, it's great to get him, right? And they plugged him in at nickel where he couldn't cover anybody. And they moved him to safety in the fall where he's been okay, sort of hit or miss. Better than any other safety we have. Jaden Harris has been inconsistent. So they addressed every position in the portal, okay? They shored up the linebacker depth with Jalen Alderman, who's now hurt, but they shored up that depth, and they knew they had two returning starters. They knew they were good there anyway, and they knew Popo Aguirre was going to be good back there also. They knew they had enough defensive line bodies, and they still kept adding bodies, even after they had the depth they needed, right? The offense, they get the quarterback they needed. They had good running backs. They still got another running back, Damian Martinez, right? On the offensive line, they got their center that they needed to replace. They addressed every position, even wide receiver. They knew they had a bunch of great guys. They still got another receiver. Yet the secondary was never addressed. And that comes back to Mario Cristobal. I don't understand how you don't address the one position that you knew was going to cost you games potentially. And if it does, it's a travesty because it was avoidable. You have the money.
I think they were counting on Damari Brown. You know,
the one guy's not fixing that defensive secondary. There's no depth. There's two seniors, two juniors, and a million freshmen. Okay.
But Matt, all this said, and they gave up those big plays against Cal. What are they? The number 14 defense in the country?
Correct.
I mean, this isn't panic city.
Their passing yards. Their passing yards allowed after the first four games went from like number 12 in the country to number 40 in the country. They've been abysmal because they finally played two quarterbacks who can throw the ball. All I'm saying is if they lose a game, if it's because of the secondary, it would have been avoidable 5-6 months ago. Well, I guess 9 months ago. But they never addressed it, even though
Matt,
knew it was going to be the problem.
In fairness, I think they did try to address it. They weren't successful in going after the bodies they wanted.
Well, there's a big difference there. There's a big difference there. They did try to get a safety, a couple of corners. I agree with you. But you know what? They tried the same thing at quarterback. That's how it works. You have another guy behind them who you get. And they didn't get anybody. And maybe there was nobody to get. But, just knowing Mario, he would have created people to come into the portal if it would have meant the difference between losing a game or two and winning the ACC title undefeated, right?
There was a kid that's from down here. I'm not going to say anything, but he's from down here. He's at an SEC school. And that was almost done, and then, right. And that got pulled. So
there were several guys that they were pushing for, and didn't get.
There's another kid in the SEC that was also ready to go, and then they matched, and he stayed.
No, I remember, but at the end of the day, again, you have to get somebody. Like you can't just say, "Oh well, we didn't get him, so now we lost a couple of games." Like that's what the coaches are there for. That's what NIL is about. You pay more. If it's a bidding war and that's the one position that you need to go undefeated, that's the biggest weakness on your team, you win the bidding war. Like I don't understand it, but it's just annoying.
All right, everything. You got anything else for us tonight?
Appreciate you guys. Have a great night.
All right, man. We'll see you next time. Anthony Jones, he says he thinks the defense is going to dominate this Saturday. I I don't think that it's as massive a problem as you're making it out to be, Matt. I think the defense has played, decently. Enormous upside, like I've said, but it was the busts were a huge problem against Cal. And you're right. If they're going to bust like that, then they're going to compromise victory for sure.
Well, you can say they're playing well, but again, I've gone over the Pro Football Focus grades, and cover grades are actually accurate for Pro Football Focus because it's a guy on a guy. And the two lowest grades you're going to find on the team, and probably for any starting team in the ACC, are Darryl Porter and Jadaeus Richard at 56 and 57% grade. Damari Brown was at 59 before he got hurt, which obviously that's not fair because he hasn't played much. Jaden Harris, 60.4 when he's in coverage situations, still not good. 70 is considered okay, decent. Deani Hill, 64%. The only good one's been OJ Frederick, and he's at 68%. They don't have a single guy in the secondary that's even at 70%, which is considered a good grade. So you can say they've been good enough, but like the back end is the weakness. It has been exposed. You can argue it hasn't, Gary, all you want. The fact is it's not been a good secondary. If the defensive line can get there in time, it will mask the problems. And that's very, very important to do. But don't try and sit there and say, oh, they've been fine. They have not been fine in the second.
All right. I'll meet you halfway on this. I'll agree that the defensive line getting better pressure on the quarterback in the second half of the season is huge. I've seen some slippage there. I thought that, Tyler Barron was great earlier in the season. He has not been. He's been okay, but not as good as I think he can be. I'd like to see that change the second half of the season. I'd like to see Messidor, really start to bust out here in the second half of the season. And then obviously Ruben Bain, he's got the game under his belt now. He looked a little rusty to me up there at Cal. I'm expecting him to be much better here now moving forward as the season progresses. So we'll see how that goes. All right, Matt, before we let you go, Mayday is asking about whether you got any crabs today or not. Did you get out on the boat today?
We rescheduled for tomorrow because I wish I could say it so I had to come onto this show, but it wasn't. But my friend had a work emergency, so we had to reschedule it. Very, very unfortunate. I thought about just taking, he has the boat. I thought about just taking my scuba gear out, grabbing his GPS and going to get him myself. But no, that would not be a good idea. So yeah, we're going tomorrow. With the weather, the bay is supposed to be a little bit rough, especially starting on Thursday. So we have a small window maybe to grab them tomorrow. So that's what we're going to try to do.
All right. So before we let you go and do your thing, any parting thoughts as Miami heads to Louisville?
I mean, just generally speaking, I can't imagine Miami losing this game. I don't know if that's just because I've been covering this team for too long, and I'm somewhat hopeful for no apparent reason because, like I always say, if you watch the same movie over and over again, you sort of you get, a Stockholm syndrome thing where you sort of just expect something bad to happen. Like, you just know what's going to happen. You resign yourself to it, and it's like, okay, you accept it. But this is the first time in 20 years I'm not accepting it because I think this team is good enough to win every game. My fear is that somehow Mario Cristobal or these coordinators are going to just screw something up and have a really bad game plan in one game. And because Miami doesn't really play the level of schedule as some of these other teams, and you lose one game, you fall behind Pitt, right? And Clemson, and now you're the third team in the ACC. SMU might even be ahead of you at that point. I mean, like, if you're the third or fourth team in the ACC, I don't care where you're ranked. If you're not in the ACC title game, you're not, even with one loss, they're not taking 3 or 4 ACC teams, in a pretty weak ACC division that has not done particularly well against other conferences overall. I just don't see it. So I think Miami has to sort of finish undefeated, as weird as that sounds. Can you lose to Louisville and still make the ACC title game? Yes. That's probably what would have to happen, right? They would need to have SMU lose a game or Clemson lose a game somehow and then get in there and win that and get a bye. Like, that's probably what would have to happen at that point, So I know fans aren't looking at the big picture right now. They're just worried about one game at a time, which of course is what the players always say when you ask them any question, every answer is, well, we're just looking at one game at a time. We're looking at ourselves, So, hopefully Miami does play a really good game against Louisville because they're going to have to. If they play the way they did against Cal and Virginia Tech, they're going to lose to Louisville. Like, Louisville's a better team than Cal and Virginia Tech, regardless of their 2 losses, by a touchdown each. Like, they're a better team. I've watched all three of those teams on tape fairly extensively. Louisville is a much better team on offense, consistency-wise than both those teams. And their defense probably has the best defensive line linebacker combination compared to those other two teams also. Louisville's weakness is its secondary, but they are getting their All-American level cornerback, should be back. He came off the bench last game. So that's going to be interesting too. I could see this being a very close game. I know fans want to say they'll win by 2 touchdowns, but that's because you're fans. In my mind, I know the line opened, I believe it actually was Louisville by a point, and now it's Miami by 5 or 5.5, wherever you look.
It was 4 earlier today.
Okay, well, I do see this coming down to basically the last couple of drives of the game. I mean, you can call me crazy, but, I just don't, the way Cam Ward operates, like if it comes down to the last 2 or 3 drives of the game for each team, I'm taking Cam Ward. I mean, what did he do? Touchdown drives the last 4 or 5 games, 4 or 5 drives in a row against Cal when you had no room for error. If you give Cam Ward 4 downs on a series to go try and get a touchdown, he'll go and get the touchdown.
It lines up to 4.5, so people are seeing it the way you're seeing it.
This isn't one of those games where I would go outside the line one way or the other, like I did the last couple of games where obviously I thought they beat Cal by more, but Virginia Tech I was pretty much right on. And this game, I would say I can't even say what the score will be, other than Miami will win by between 1 point and 21 points. I think that's the spread. Miami's going to win by between 1 point and 21 points. That's Matt Shodell's bold prediction for the week.
You got to respect a couple of things. Louisville's had this game circled the entire offseason. Jeff Brom will be incredibly prepared for this game, and he can dial it up as well as anybody in college football. I am expecting this thing to be a shootout on Saturday, and it's going to be really interesting. Cam Ward's got to protect the football. Miami wins, in my opinion. All right, Matt. I'm going to let you run here. Thanks as always for being part of CaneSport Live, and enjoy chasing those crabs in the morning, and we'll catch up with you soon. All right, we're going to get to the voice of the fan, Bruce Warner, coming in to join me here in a minute. But I want to take a minute, guys, to talk to you about Caneswear. And without a doubt, your number one destination for all your Miami Hurricanes gear. Let's start by taking a look at Caneswear.
Welcome to Caneswear. New store, new items, same great experience. Family owned and operated since 2010, Caneswear has the latest merchandise from the Miami Hurricanes, Miami Dolphins, Florida Panthers, Inter Miami CF, and more. Come visit us at our store in Davie on University Drive, just south of 595, or online at caneswear.com. Caneswear, the spot Miami fans.
You guys see the store. It doesn't matter what you need. Hats, helmets, jerseys, T-shirts, anything with the U on it, they'll have for you at Caneswear, your ultimate source for all your Miami Hurricanes merchandise needs. They've got all the sizes you could want, men, women's, kids, babies. They even have gear for your pets. So get on over to Caneswear, where it's more than just a store. It is an absolute experience. And if you go to home games, they're 15 minutes north of Hard Rock Stadium on University Drive, 2655 South University Drive in Davie. You could shop Caneswear anytime you want at caneswear.com. So 2655 South University Drive in Davie, caneswear.com. Check them out. You will not be sorry. Load yourself up on Canes gear. The Canes are 6-0. Big game Saturday. Get that Cam Ward jersey while you can. If his Heisman campaign continues, those babies are going to get sold out. So check them out at Caneswear and caneswear.com. All right, let me bring in the voice of the fan, Bruce Warner, now into the asylum. And Bruce, before we get back to more of our guests, your general thoughts on where Miami stands here as it goes to Louisville.
Well, I had a question, and maybe you can answer this one. If we didn't struggle in these last 2 games like we did, would be sitting here thinking about this may be a close game? I don't think so. I mean, we scored 39 points against Cal, and we stunk for the most part. My
answer would be yes, we would be. It's because every game stands on its own 2 feet. Hello, Jay Collette. I hope you're watching. He loves that line. But no, every game stands on its own 2 feet. And this game from the time the schedule came out, figured to be the toughest game of the year. And I am expecting it to still, I don't know if I could say toughest game of the year because we've just had 2 tough games. I am expecting it to be a very difficult out on Saturday up there at Louisville because of the talent that Louisville has on offense, the way it matches up with Miami's weakness, and the head coach and the respect I have for him and the way that he can dial it up. And in one of my columns this week, I quoted Nick Saban saying, what has happened in the past has absolutely nothing to do with what will happen in the future. Mm-hmm. I think that's a phenomenal line. I couldn't agree with that more. So yes, I do think we would be sitting here talking about this being a tough game.
All right. So I also think that in the last week, since we were off last weekend, that Mario has gotten this team's attention. I think they had a lot of introspection this week. The players, the coaches, they watched the game film against Cal. Cal made them look silly. If that's what happened at Cal, I can't imagine what Brom's going to do, because they took advantage of our over-aggressiveness, our over-pursuit, guys with absolutely no eye discipline whatsoever in our secondary. Every little fake, they went for it. We saw Mish Powell covering a wide receiver one-on-one. That can't happen. So from my reading and understanding what Mario has been talking about in the last 10 days in his press conferences, I think he's going to make some adjustments in the secondary. I don't think we're going to see as many young kids in this game. I wouldn't be surprised if they play a little zone to protect their safeties and protect the corners. I wouldn't be surprised at all. And yeah, the pass rush. Now, you talk about Tyler Barron. He was nicked up in the Vatek game. He didn't play that well against Cal. I think he's healthy now. That's a big difference because that kid was creating all kinds of problems in the backfield. So I expect him to be healthy. I expect
4.5 sacks, and I think all but one came against FAMU and Ball State. So he can do a lot more.
He could do a lot more. I understand that. And I think Alston's going to be back. I haven't heard anything, but I believe so. I got one game under Bain's belt now because the first game really didn't count. And I do think the defensive line is going to play a lot better. I also expect Mauanoa to play better because what we've seen so far has not been good. He's missing tackles. He's over pursuing. He's sometimes not in the right place. So you and I both know that Mario has gotten on these guys. They had their own little team meeting. I think that they realize that they can't keep playing like that, and I don't think they're going to play like that. I think they're going to play better, much better.
I don't think there were any pizza parties with cake. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Luis Delgadillo, he says, in my mind, we're playing the 72 Dolphins this Saturday. Luis, would you, if I said the same thing about Cal or Virginia Tech, 2 games that could have gone either way, that there were multiple plays in each game that if they go against us, we lose? Literally winning by the hair of our chinny chin chin. If I had said the same thing in either of those games, you would have ridiculed me as well. I mean, he got to earn victory. It doesn't come easy. All right, let's go out to T-Dog. T-Dog, welcome back to CaneSport Live. What you got for us tonight?
Man, apologize, man. My freaking lights went out at like around 7:50. So they've been out for like a little over an hour, and they literally came back on about 20 minutes ago. So I would have jumped in there earlier, but didn't have any electricity. So
it's okay. You're here now.
And I'm actually on my phone now because the Wi-Fi for some reason still hasn't turned back on. But anyway, good to meet you, Bruce, finally on here.
You too, man.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, Bruce, with what you were saying. Matter of fact, I'm going to send some fat cooter to your house to show my respects because Gary's talking nonsense. I totally agree. I think that this game recharges the team. Well, the bye week recharged the team. I feel like they're going to come out with the same focus they had against UF. And I
agree, man. I think that they're going to go out there and beat the crap out of them, just like they did. The Swamp meant nothing to them, and this Louisville means nothing to them. I think they're going to go out there and kick their ass. That's what I
honestly do. I think there's no doubt that no team is going to stop us from scoring at least 30 points. We've already established that, so they're definitely going to score over 30. And I think Lance has figured out something on defense. I agree with you, Bruce, again with the zone. I think he's going to do some zone blitzing because you can't just let a Brom quarterback team just sit back there and throw the ball, relatively easy. So I believe that they're going to do some zone blitzing, and I think the Canes are going to win at least by about 15 to 20 points.
That's what I say. I said 41-23. Somebody said, who was that? He said 38-21.
Yeah.
That's whatchamacallit. What's his name? I forgot his stupid name already. That's Matt's buddy.
Oh, Greg.
Oh, Greg. Yeah, he
Greg,
said
yeah.
38-20. That's what I think. It's going to be like
Listen,
17 points, something like that.
Yeah.
We win
Louisville
this
doesn't
game.
belong on the field with us. I don't care. They have 2 losses this year, Gary.
Yeah.
And
Agreed.
SMU made them look sick. They were so much faster than them. SMU was just, they destroyed that team.
And you got to remember,
they're no different.
and I think Greg coined the phrase SMU is like Miami Light, right? So they got like our leftovers, right?
Yeah, they
So
do
if
have
they
a lot
did
of
that with our
leftovers.
leftovers, what are they going to do with Cam Ward and X and Horton? So I don't think it's
agree.
going to be a game. I think maybe in the beginning it might start out a little, it might not be a huge blowout in the beginning, but I expect by the third quarter you're going to start seeing us pull away from them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
I
Miami's
agree.
mad.
I agree if the Canes showed up in Gainesville the way they were prepared for that game show up in Louisville, which they should be. I mean, they had a week off. They've really been able to refine their game. They should be very focused and ready to go. But I'm not disrespecting what Louisville's passing game might be able to do against our defense. We'll see.
Except
hopefully
the
it
games
doesn't
we
play out.
struggled, the kid last week was able to run out of the pocket. The other 2 quarterbacks, Vatek and South Florida kid, ran out. This kid's not a runner. He's a pocket passer.
Correct.
So if they go after this kid, he's going to make mistakes. I don't think he has the ability like Mertz. Well, he's hurt now, but Mertz really can't run that well. He did okay, but we trapped this guy in the backfield. He made a lot of mistakes. That's what I think is going to happen this game. I just do.
You ask any defensive end their favorite quarterback to go up against, and it's a pocket quarterback because they're going to more times than not be on a spot, and those defensive ends are running towards that spot. When you have a guy that's mobile, that's always off his spot, it's harder to account for where he is, which is why it's so hard for defensive ends to get Cam Ward. But when you face a statue back there, it's a defensive end's favorite thing, man. Think about the Giants and the Patriots in that Super Bowl. That is why they went off on Tom Brady, because he was a statue, and they were like, "Oh, we're eating tonight." They said it before the game started.
This kid's like what, 6'6"? He's like a 6'6" kid. He's tall.
Yeah.
Look,
so
I agree with Gary, and I worry
about
about Brom, T-Dog. I do worry about Brom. He's a great
no
offensive mind, and I think they're going to try to take advantage of Miami's over pursuit and the aggressiveness, like screens and things like that, because we've been missing tackles all over the place. That's got to stop too. We can't be missing tackles. We got to smack some people this week. If we don't play well this week, then I'm very worried about what's going to happen the rest of it. But I expect us to beat these guys like we beat down Florida. And if that happens, I don't worry about anybody. That's for sure.
No, I agree about their coach. He's one of the best game callers at the college level for sure. But I think that's where Guidry's going to come in and with that zone and confuse him and have some zone blitz behind that. Before we were blitzing out of man, so it's kind of very easy to to decipher where the blitz is coming from. But I think if you disguise it a little bit better with some zone behind it, I think we're going to be successful. And then I think the defensive ends will be going to a spot, the same spot every rush, versus trying to account for a guy that can break out of the pocket.
Well, certainly you want the D tackles to get up the field to flush this kid out. That's what you want, and that's what we used to do when we had Cortez, we had Russell, we had Wilfork, we had Sapp, Jerome. They created havoc in the backfield. So the fact that now Simeon Barrow is playing very well, he has to keep this up because he's pushing the guard in the center right into the backfield. That's what we need, and I expect Bain to be better. He's had a week under his belt now.
Agreed.
So I just think that it's not a great matchup for Louisville. I don't think it is. But when we play like crap, when you play like crap for 2 weeks, everybody's talking like they're going to beat us.
It's not a good matchup for Louisville. Offensively, it's a very good matchup for Louisville.
I think you can say that, Gary, if we didn't have the ends,
we have a really good pass rush, Gary.
Correct. If we didn't have our ends,
sit there and do nothing,
I would agree with Gary.
I just think the scheme. Listen, it's not just me. All right, I look at Vegas has set the over/under at 61 in this game. It's pretty high.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they're expecting a lot of offense, just like I am, and obviously, I do think we can win a shootout, but I don't think this is just going to be walk into Louisville at 12 o'clock and blow them out like some people want to think it will be. I hope it is, but
But I
would-
think these guys are basing it off 2 crappy performances, and they think
Correct.
we're going to play like that again. I don't
Correct.
think so. I think Mario's got their attention. These guys were the last 2 weeks. They were happy that they won, but they were not really happy with the way they played.
Miami's
These
lost
guys
7
they've
straight
got to
coming
be angry. They have to
think
be
Miami-
angry.
I think Miami's lost 7 straight coming out of bye weeks too. That's something that we got to reverse here this
Right,
year.
I
I don't,
agree,
I
and
don't
it will
think it
reverse.
necessarily- I don't think it means anything in relation
Right.
to this team, but it is obviously a trend that they need to reverse.
But the other trend, Gary, was we stink after we play Florida State, no matter who it is. We just lay an egg the following week. Well, I don't think that's going to happen. But this, to me, is the biggest game of the year right now. They can't continue to play like that. Because if they play like that, T-Dog, then I think we're all worried about this. What's going to happen going forward?
And we can't decide. We can't be wishy-washy on when we want to listen to Vegas. Like, what was the Vegas saying about
Vegas.
us in the UF game? Like, it's so funny how people want to use the Vegas line as an argument. Like, come on, bro. Like, so what? Vegas gets it wrong.
I don't know how they do it, bro, but those guys get it right a lot.
Okay, but what about with the UF game? Do you remember the
They
over/under
were
for the
way
UF
off
game?
that game.
Way
Yeah.
off, exactly.
Yeah.
So, like, I honestly think now, had we not been coming from a bye, I can see your concern. I can see your reservations, Gary. But we've been on a bye. I saw Mario today on a different little show or whatever. The dude, Kevin Clark or whatever, who went to UM. Saw him on his show. Mario looked relaxed as hell, bro. Like, I have not seen Mario look this relaxed, this deep into the season in a long time. I think he knows that during that off week, they figured out some things. They scouted themselves, like you said yourself, Gary. He loves to scout, self-scout. I think they're gonna surprise the hell out of, and it's a 12 o'clock game. I think they're gonna surprise the hell out of Louisville right out of the gate.
But they have to get off to a fast start. They can't keep playing like this.
It
They
would
have
bode
to.
well for going undefeated if they won in a classy way on Saturday. No argument. All right, T-Dog, you got anything else for us?
No, I'm out, man. I gotta go fix my Wi-Fi so my kids can do their homework, man.
All right,
Homework.
man. Hopefully
Homework.
we'll talk to you next week after a huge victory.
All right,
Pat,
man. Hey, I'm gonna be
Pat.
down there for the Florida State game. I'm gonna bring everybody down there, so hopefully I can bump into you.
Hey,
Oh,
next
cool.
week,
Yeah, yeah,
next
look
week
forward to
on the
that.
show, just let me know because I'm going to be at the tailgate for the former players because I hang with those guys. I'm in the former players suite. It's behind the main entrance. I think it's Black 1 or something like that. But just I'll get you some info next week because all my friends, all these former players will be there, so you guys can come and hang around with them.
Oh, that'd be
All right,
awesome,
T-Dog.
man.
Thanks,
That'd be
man.
awesome,
Thanks
Bruce.
for being part of the show
Okay,
as always.
my pleasure.
All right, if you want to come on the show, shoot us an email at canesport@yahoo.com. We'll get you in. Let's go out to BK Hurricane. Welcome back to CaneSport Live. BK, what you got for us this week?
What's up, Gary? What's up, Bruce? Man, I'm
Hey,
sorry I
man.
missed a couple of weeks. I've been working and stuff like that. But just watching the last 2 Miami Hurricane games. So that's Virginia Tech and Cal. They didn't do anything that necessarily surprised Miami, but you saw a lot of mental bust, specifically against Cal. I've never in my life seen that many linebackers make that many, like they had no eye discipline in that game. To give up those 2 long runs, the one by Jaden Ott and the other kid, I'm like, what the hell were they doing? Everybody saw it coming. Everybody was looking in the backfield somewhere else. So these are fixable problems. They didn't catch us off guard. Mish Powell, he wasn't exposed. He was a knucklehead in those last 2 games. He had no business being in the positions that he was in, but he was just there.
Yep.
Every down. Every down. So this is a very fixable thing. It's not the scheme. It's not the game plan. We had a lot of guys out there, Francis Manoa in particular, is not living up to how he played the year before. And that's basically because everybody's out there trying to be a freaking hero. Tyler Barron trying to be a hero every play. Every play, he's got to be the one to get the sack. I got to get the sack. I got to get the sack. I got the sack.
He's not getting them.
We got too many guys out there being a hero when there's only one hero on the team, and that's Cam Ward.
And he's hero 1A. Hero B is your Restrepo. But Mario addressed that. Mario addressed that in his presses. he keeps talking about some of the eye discipline has been horrible for our DBs. Horrible. But they talked about it. They're addressing it. They're talking about a lot of other. I'm telling you, I think they're going to have some zone in there, and that'll fool Louisville to a certain extent. I expect the pass rush to be better. I think everybody's healthy for the most part, and I do expect us to play much better. And the guy who has to make the tackles and who hasn't been is Mawanoa. He's been. He had a good interception the other day because he dropped into coverage, but still,
he's trying to earn his NFL money. That's what
everybody
doing,
is.
But it doesn't help if you're doing too much.
Well,
it just doesn't help.
Yeah, look, I don't know if he's doing too much. He's missing tackles. I don't know if he's focused. I don't know what he's trying to do. I'm not in his head, but I don't like what I saw. And I don't like the fact that we were up 7-0 last week, and then we got outscored 35-3. To 3. When in the last 20 years, even though we haven't been that good, have we been outscored 35-3 in any 2 periods or a quarter and a half or a half? Never. What happened?
I've never seen anything like it. If Miami decides to put 4 quarters together, if they could play the same in 4 quarters, Louisville doesn't stand a chance. I mean, they'll score a couple.
But we're assuming our offense is going to score 35 or 40 points, and I think they will. I expect Cam Ward to play a much cleaner game. And I know I was listening to Gary and Matt before. It just doesn't seem to you, BK, that every time Jacoby George is involved in a play and he gets hit, or even if he's not in a play and the play is somewhere else, he's always looking for a fight. He's always looking to be involved. He's always got a pissed off attitude.
He's lucky they don't have no depth, is all I got to say.
I didn't hear you, Gary. What did you say?
He's lucky they don't have more depth because Mario.
Yes, he's very lucky.
Yeah,
he's lucky.
Mario hates that crap.
He hates
it. I like this. I'd like to see Elijah Lofton get in there and play in this slot. Who's going to guard him? He's massive. But
he's another one. I didn't even mention him earlier.
Yeah.
I mean, how much can that kid offer?
Give him more time. Why not? You got nothing to lose at this point.
He's
one personal foul away from
nobody could. He's massive. Did you see what he did last week? He got hit. He caught a ball. He got hit. He got up. I mean, I think he had something with his hip. But
I think next year, when they don't have Restrepo, that they'll be able to design more offense for guys like Elijah Lofton. That's what I'm expecting. Restrepo, as good as he's playing, is just commanding so much. I don't think he has to obliterate the record book. Let's get some of these other guys.
I don't even know is he really thinking about the record. I don't even know if Cam is thinking about the Heisman. These guys just want to win.
I just think that all the plays are going to Restrepo, and we're winning. But I think we will be a better team if other guys get involved too.
Well, I don't know if all of them. It just seems like all the big plays because everybody knows he's Mr. Clutch.
We've been life or death to win these last 2 games. We can't forget
we have,
that.
but it wasn't all on Restrepo.
And you can't just blame the defense, in my opinion.
Right.
All right, real quick. Do you think that the run game, if we could do something in the run game in the first half of these games, as opposed to waiting for the third and the fourth quarter to decide to do something, that could help alleviate the problem as well? Because I know we're 7 weeks into the season, and I'm still waiting for the real Damian Martinez to stand up.
To show up. Yep. They were doing it last week. They were committed to it at Cal. They did not abandon it. They were doing it, and they gave up all those big plays and fell behind by 25 early in the third quarter. At that point, they had to abandon the running game.
Yeah.
And but I think they'll bring it back this Saturday. I do, because they were effective.
We got to see the Damian Martinez. We have to see it. There's no more
100%.
Damian Martinez. It's 7 weeks. We want to see that running back that UM paid that money for.
100%.
Here's the voice of the fan. I don't give a damn about Martinez. I don't care about any of these guys. I want to win. And if he's not doing the job, I don't want to force him to play because we gave him NIL money. I don't care about him. Fletcher's better than him.
It's not a matter of Wait, when he's
Fletcher
in
can get to the outside, and we need to see a little more of Jordan Lyle. We need to see Chris Johnson in the worst way. He needs at least 8 or 10 touches a game, a couple out of the backfield. You could put him and Lofton in the backfield and let Lofton be a lead blocker. He was a lead blocker on the touchdown near the end of the game. That kid is very, very multidimensional. That's what they got to do. They just can't hand the ball off to Martinez and hope he runs for 100 yards. I don't think that's going to change anything. Our speed will make changes with Louisville's defense. We have speed that we're not using.
We got to scheme some plays for Chris Johnson.
Yeah, we do.
You know, we haven't schemed anything.
But the problem is this: he's got to be in the game. He's got to be in the game, BK, when he's not getting the ball. I mean, the problem is every time he comes on the field, he's getting the ball, and now the defense knows that he's getting the ball. And until there's enough time to change that up,
okay. Well, guess what, Gary? You know, as an offensive coordinator, if I was that, I'd put him in the game. I'd fake a handoff to him or fake an end around to him and misdirect and throw it to somebody else. If you're thinking of that, don't you think Dawson should be thinking of that? I do.
Dawson,
imagine what Rick Ashley would have done with Chris Johnson. Look what he's doing with Brashard Smith.
Yeah. I mean, listen, Shannon Dawson is managing a lot. Okay, but I agree with you that it would take a concerted effort to make sure Chris Johnson is in the game for plays where the ball's not going to the running back.
Bingo.
That he's just physically on the field where they're noticing him on the field and you're establishing a pattern that he's not going to get the ball every single time he walks out there. All right, BK, you got anything else for us?
No, Gary, I'm good.
All right, man. We'll talk to you next week. Talk to you next week. Hopefully after another massive Canes win. Nothing I would love to see more. I am expecting a shootout on Saturday. I think Vegas did make the over-under 61 for a reason. And I think Louisville's strength does match up well for them with our defense. All right, let's go to Sebastian, man. How you doing this week, Sebastian? Center your picture a little bit for us. So
okay, I don't know what's wrong with my
life would not be complete if I didn't get to see that bald head every week. So center it for us. All right, there you go.
Partial head now. There it is. All right. What's up, man?
Hey, man. I'm thinking about this game, and this game is just huge for us. I did what Lance Guidry did this week. I actually watched the game from last week when we played them. And I just thought that if you watch the game, I mean, it seemed like we had it in control in the first half. I think we got up to like 21-14, and then, we didn't make a third down, and Louisville drove the ball down the field and scored, missed the extra point, and then it was a 21-20 game. But here's what I also saw in the game as well. I thought the Louisville coach was very, very aggressive. Louisville was 9-1. I thought the Titans just absolutely killed us. But where they also killed us was they got into a lot of third and short. And we didn't have a lot of depth on the defensive line, and they were just eating us for lunch with misdirections and passes. And so as I'm thinking about
misdirections, taking advantage of over pursuit, absolutely.
Over pursuit, our aggressive nature and everything, bad eye discipline. And I'm one of these folks that I just believe we get out of Louisville with a field goal game and win. That's enough for me.
100%.
I agree. I don't care how we win, just win, baby.
I'm not into the style points and what Vegas says and everything. This is a good ball club, regardless of what their records say. They
haven't played their best either. They haven't played their best.
They probably scare me more than any other team on our schedule just because of how balanced they are on offense and defense. And I really think this is a game that's going to be won by the coordinators. I think it's going to be Dawson and Lance Guidry. Because the disparity in talent is not such a huge gap that I don't believe that if Guidry is not on that particular day, I think it could really haunt us. What are your thoughts about that, Bruce? But that's what I think about Louisville.
Well, I watched the Florida State SMU game, and they were jacked for that game, and they beat the daylights out of them. Then they go on the road at Louisville, and I'm figuring they got to be exhausted. They can't be emotionally jacked up again. And guess what they did? They beat Louisville. and their speed showed. Louisville looked like they were in quicksand covering these guys. So I would look at those two films and look at the Louisville and Notre Dame, because they didn't play well up there either. And I don't think that Louisville has yet gotten their offense going. I don't know who they played before SMU. They played Notre Dame, and that's 2 losses that they had. They were not that impressive. And didn't they just beat somebody last weekend, like Virginia, by like
they beat Virginia. They beat
by
Virginia.
a couple of points? They don't
They
impress me. So I'm looking at Miami. If they play like they did against the Gators, and I have to believe, because Gary knows Mario, I know Mario, I know the mentality. Last week in the press conference after the game, he was talking. He wasn't happy. He wasn't happy after the Virginia Tech game, and they had a lot of soul searching. And these kids, according to him, are buying into what he's saying. They are making adjustments. They're making some changes. He's going to limit the number of players that are going to get in this game. He's not going to have 10 defensive linemen and 8 defensive backs. He's going to restrict it to who has played well, who has done well in practice, and they're going to stick with those guys. Like, they're going to throw in some wrinkles. They're going after their quarterback, but not all the time, because they have to be worried about this kid throwing screens. And you remember last week against Cal, the quarterback faked the throw to one of the receivers. Both of our guys came up, and I don't know, it was number 83. He just blew by everybody.
Tight end.
I mean, you can't be doing that. That eye discipline is so bad. And if they're sitting there relying on our front four to make sacks and create havoc, and they don't cover guys. But I got to tell you, I didn't remember seeing that many wide open receivers like I did in the last 2 weeks. Wide open. And so I know that Mario has done a lot to correct that. I think these kids are smart enough to self-correct. I just happen to think that this is like Florida all over again. Somebody's telling them you're not as good as you think you are. And I think they're going to come out, and I think they're going to beat this team pretty badly. I do. Not 47-3, but I think they're going to beat them and control the game from beginning to end.
I see a field goal. I see us in the fourth quarter, and when they would drive down the field, and I see a kicking a field goal and getting out of Louisville with a win, and I'll be happy with that. How big of an impact do you think having Jalen Rivers come back to the starting lineup is going to have on this particular game?
It should be huge, because, like, to me, if I'm looking at this game, I'm not disrespecting the Louisville offense the way some people are. And I'm thinking, I need to control the rhythm of the game. And the way to do that is by running the football effectively like they were in the first half. The only thing that went wrong at Cal was giving up the big plays on defense.
Right. I
mean, they were controlling the game. They were controlling the football. They were running the ball well. They only scored 10 points in the first half. They had a couple third down conversions that didn't go their way, but they were executing what was a very sound game plan going up there to Cal. And I'm expecting very similar against Louisville. I think that you don't want to let the Louisville offense get into a rhythm. And the way you keep them from getting into a rhythm is you keep them on the sidelines. And I think Miami will try to run the ball up there, and Jalen Rivers becomes a big part of that.
Yeah, I don't know what was wrong with him, so I'm not sure how much he's really going to be able to play. He's been off for like 6 weeks already. So, but Mario did say that Bell will play in this game, so he'll probably go in there for a series or so and then give Rivers a rest. I just keep thinking that Miami can't keep playing the way they did on defense the last 2 weeks in this game. I mean, they've had 2 weeks to get ready for this and make the adjustments. And so
you can't make an adjustment, though, to mental busts, and that's inexcusable.
Well, they were working on the mental bust. I know they are. I'm telling you.
They have to be. I mean,
they have to be. And I just don't think
Brom is going to throw up. One thing I can see, when I watched that game last year, there was a lot of motion. He threw a lot at our team and our defense. And so that is what he threw a lot of misdirections. I mean, I don't know if you saw the tight end the touchdown right before.
Tight end was incredible.
Where he posed as an offensive lineman and then snuck out and scored touchdown. He threw an absolute lot. Here's what I'm really thinking about this game here. I don't need Cam Ward to be great. I don't need him to have any silly interceptions where he gives them extra possessions. I just think routine plays is going to win this game if they just execute.
Just
I don't
execute.
need him. I
Just
don't need
execute.
him.
Right, I
To be
agree.
I don't need him to be a superhero in this game. Believe it or not, if he only throws for 250 yards, but we run for about close to 200, and we win the game, I'll be happy with that. I just don't need him to be Superman in this game. And I'll tell you, as you watch this game on Saturday, if I get through the first quarter and a half and I see him trying to play Superman, remember this conversation that I'm really, really worried about this game, because I don't need him to be Superman. I need him to, if it's 3rd and 6, just get the first down. I don't need a home run.
I agree. I don't think that he's going to throw that across the field pass ever again. That's one. Two, there was a play a few weeks ago. He hit George right in his hands, and it popped up in the air, and there was an interception. That wasn't on Ward. Yes, it's an interception, but it wasn't his fault. And I think maybe not the Cal game, maybe the week, I don't remember. Yeah, the Vatech game. He threw one to Restrepo. It got popped in the air, and Caleb Spencer got it and almost took it to the house for a touchdown. But I don't know if that was his fault that the ball got popped in the air.
But his weakness as a player is turning the ball over. And it has been his entire career. He's got to lose that. And he's been coached to lose it.
Well, he's thrown 6 interceptions this year. Okay. 3 of his picks have been 3 of his interception has been like batted balls, tip balls.
Right, batted balls.
And so what I mean by when I say he doesn't need to be Superman is sometimes don't get the big play, just get the ordinary check down plays and stuff like that, and just keep the chains moving. You look at, the Jacoby George interception, that was his fault. He threw a perfect ball.
Yeah, it was perfect.
The one that when he scrambled in the first week of the game when it comes off of Restrepo, I think he's doing a lot. He's really trying to make a play. And the one against Caleb Spencer is a fluke. But if you take those away, he doesn't seem as turnover prone as possible. The point I'm just trying to make is I just don't need him to be Superman in this game. I just need him to come out with a W, and then we'll be fine. I know we're going to tighten down the roster, but could you tell me maybe some impact underclassmen that can have an impact on this game, some underclassmen that could possibly have an impact in this game, like Zaquan Patterson, or, to help the secondary out, because, we need some help back there. And maybe some like Justin Scott, a defensive lineman, and maybe Popo Guri. Or even on offense, JoJo Trader. Are there some young talent on the team that you think could help make a difference in this game?
They're all going to play. I just think that you get into a game like this, and I still think could be the toughest game of the year. Mm-hmm. I think Louisville had this circled for months. Brahm is going to be very prepared. I think you want to rely on your veteran football players in a game like this.
I don't see Zaquan playing that much. He's on special teams. So are some of these other guys. They're on special teams. When you say these young underclassmen, look, I'd love to see the running backs. There's 2 of them that we really should have in the game, Jordan Lyle and obviously Chris Johnson. I still think that Lofton should be in the game, not just 2 or 3 plays. He's just a mismatch. And I'd put him in there. I'd take George out and put him in there because he's tough. But as far as the young kids, like I said, I know Mario's going to cut down guys that are on the fringe that aren't really playing now. And he said whoever does well in practice is going to play. So, he knows these guys better than we do. But I expect that the beginning of the game, we got to come out strong. We get the ball. We win the toss. We defer, whatever, but we got to stop them. We just need to jump on these guys. 10-0, 17-3. Like these other teams have done on us, only they're not coming back against us. I don't think so. But we got to jump out early. We cannot be stuck in quicksand once again in the first half of these games, which is what we've done.
Let me share something with you guys as my last thought. This game is huge for several reasons. Louisville still has to play Clemson, and they still have to play Pittsburgh, and they already have a loss to SMU. If we beat Louisville, you could pretty much take them out the running.
Absolutely.
To make it to the ACC championship game.
Absolutely.
All right. We don't play Clemson and we don't play Pittsburgh, right?
Or SMU.
Or SMU.
Or SMU.
So they got to kind of fight it out on that particular end. We get past Louisville, we're still going to have a tough matchup against Tech. I think Tech is going to be a tough game. And I think Syracuse is going to be a tough game. And then you have, I think, Wake Forest, Duke, and Florida State. I'm not saying those are cupcakes, but this is a way that you can kind of take that team out of play for the ACC championship game, right? And then you leave everybody else to kind of fight it out, and we're more in control of our destiny. The issue with losing this particular game is I think it put so much pressure on all the other games that we have to play, what gives us a very, very small margin of error. And, you know, a couple of injuries here or there, it can kind of decimate your team. I mean, when we played Louisville last year, our defensive line was all banged up and bruised. When we were playing Liechtenstein at defensive tackle, we didn't have the talent and the depth.
Yeah, you're not wrong. That's why I also think we should beat these guys. They're not not as good as everybody thought they were going to be. Everybody was talking. They're undefeated. Game day is going to be there. You know, they're not. It's a 12 o'clock game in Louisville. I see no reason why we should. Yeah, they're a well-coached team. I just don't think they have the talent, both sides of the ball, like we do. I just don't think they do. And if we could lose, if we screw up, like we've screwed up the last couple of weeks, but if our heads are on straight and Mario's got these guys into this game, and I know these guys are going to go out there with a chip on their shoulder because they're pissed. They don't want to hear all this noise. I expect us to win this game. And then Florida State the next week, you know, it's a rivalry game. We'll talk about that next week, but still. I mean,
hey, Garrett, answer this question for me, and then you can turn me off. We can go next week. You talked about Malachi Tony, and you talked about how you're probably optimistic that we can kind of get back into play with him and get him on board. Can you elaborate a little bit more on why you think we'll probably circle the wagons and kick the tires again, and why he's a focal point to get him in this particular class? What's going on there that we don't know?
I think he's important to the class because, you know, they see him playing a future role like a Restrepo, a slot receiver who can be counted on. He's young. I don't know how fast it'll happen. You know, he's accelerating his graduation. He reclassified to this class, so he's going to be a year younger when he gets to college. I think he got a little caught up in recruiting. I think they've been in a really good spot with him for a long time. I think that when the hits the fan, Kevin Beard's been spending a lot of time on this one. He was at his game last night, and I just think that Miami will get back in there here and get this thing done in the next few weeks. I'm expecting him to be part of the class. All right, Sebastian, let me let you go because I can't let Jake get drunk over there. I mean, he's been drinking the whole show and waiting patiently to come on. So give us a call. Come back on next week, okay?
All right, sounds good, guys. Thanks.
All right, Sebastian. All right, Jake. Man, like I apologize. Like I know you've been pasting and eating and drinking and the whole thing, but
making dinner.
I hope we got you on in time. What you got for us this week?
We still got half a bottle, so we're good. So.
There it is.
What is that? What are you drinking?
Oh, we got some my red wine for the week. So yeah, or the night. It depends.
That bottle don't last a week in your house, and you know it.
No, it doesn't. No, that'll be lucky to make it till tomorrow. So it's all right though.
That's good.
I think I hope in this player meeting. The way I'm looking at it, I'll take the glass half full a little bit on the defense. We've got the number one defense except for 10 plays this year where they took really bad angles, over pursued. Other than that, stinking and dunking, nobody's been moving the ball on us. We get smacked with these 50, 60-yard plays where it's just full on over pursuit. I think, if they got in the lab and corrected that over this bye week, we could be pretty formidable. The secondary, there's problems. I'm not saying it's all rosy, but Maui Noah didn't forget how to play football. I mean, we've seen the guy play. He's had 2 really bad weeks. Over pursuing the ball, just missing a tackle that turns into a really big play. Same thing, Mish Powell. I mean, at this point, the guy's got a history. Is he a first-round pick? No. but he's a good football player, and he'll, I think he'll figure it out. He had a good first 4 weeks. Granted, competition's not great, but I think he'll sort it out too. But the other thing too, somebody was saying earlier, I forget who it was, but talking about the hero ball, and I think I look at it. There's some guys who you can tell. I don't know if it's maybe they're playing for their NFL career or they think they are, but there's some guys who are playing the system. Mark Fletcher, Isaiah Horton, Wesley Bissaint, Cam Ward, Xavier Restrepo. Those guys are going to the NFL, and the reason they are is they're working it. They're working it. They're not forcing it. You got guys like Tyler Barron, Francisco Mauigoa, Mish Powell. I wonder if, to a degree, they've gotten a little overzealous, if you will, trying to make that huge play. Sam Brown, you could toss him into that category.
He's still dropping balls that he shouldn't be dropping.
Yep.
I was all for him up until last week, but I got another couple of drops, and I don't know.
Do you think there's some guys though that just like, they got their eyes on the NFL, and it's like, just focus on the game, not the NFL?
I don't think so. I
that's
think they're dialed in. I don't think they're thinking about that at all.
I just don't think they've played their best.
Yeah.
And I think, like I've said, I don't want to be a broken record. I think a lot more of them can be involved more often. And I think that'll help make this a better team. And I love the fact that they had the players only meeting.
Me too.
Callie Kane was asking about that. I think the players only meeting was a good thing because it shows us that they are not content with the way they've been playing. And the want is there. They want to be better. They are not resting on any laurels because they shouldn't be. I mean, they easily could be a 4-2 team with its season derailed, kind of the way Louisville is, quite frankly. They were expecting to compete for the ACC title this year, and they lost to SMU at home last week. That was a big loss for them. So this is their Super Bowl. I think they're going to get Louisville's best on Saturday. And with all respects to Luis Delgadillo, who's like just destroying me in the chat tonight, that I'm over ranking Louisville or over respecting Louisville. Listen, I respect everybody. A lot of these teams have very good coaches and they have good game plans. And you see the way we were pushed to the limit the last 2 weeks. And I know that this Louisville team is playing for its life on Saturday. And I know that they've had this game circled the entire offseason. So
maybe we have them circled all offseason, except maybe
well, that's the thing. Everybody was saying, this game isn't sneaking up on us.
No, not at all.
This was going to be you were talking, we're 0-7 on the bye week. Now, I made a prediction when we played Florida. I said either we're going to lose or we're going to blow them out. I think this is the same type of deal. And I think two things. Number one, if we're playing well off the bye week, that means we started getting serious as a team. We started getting better on a bye week. How many for the last almost decade now? It's like, the bye week, whatever, it's actually a detriment to us. I think that shows a seriousness, but this week is when we find out, is this team for real or were the last 2 weeks for real?
I agree with you 1,000,000,000%. We didn't play that well. I don't know what we were thinking. I don't know what happened. But if that wasn't a wake-up call, there won't be one.
We had 2 weeks to fix it. So
yes.
either the wake-up call happens or we're probably 10-2. That's just the reality of it. We'll find out. It's 4 days away. I'm anxious.
But we won the last 3 games because South Florida was tough for a while, and then the last 2 games we pulled it out of a hat. But again, like I said, if this is the wake-up call, there won't be one. Then they really might not be that good. Most of these people saying we didn't play anybody, they might be right. So I'm expecting us to turn it around, and I can't change my opinion. I think we're going to beat them. I think it might be a tough physical game, but I still think we win by between 10 and 15 points. I don't.
2-3 touchdowns.
I don't see it as a field goal game. I just don't.
I think if it's a field goal, it's a loss because then at that point, then that's 3 weeks in a row. We had to buy to prepare.
That's a great point.
Yep.
Yeah, we just didn't have the juice in this team. It's the Cam Ward show, and everybody else really wasn't able to step it up.
It's a great point, man. You go to the well 3 games in a row.
Yeah,
I mean, it's going to be hard to win all 3 of them.
You are what you are at that point.
Yeah, you gotta be better than that.
You can say 2 weeks. Okay,
that's the point of the night, Jake. Point of the night, right?
On a side point, we were talking about Sam Brown. Is he a junior? Could he come back next year?
I think he's a senior. Martinez can come back.
Martinez can come back, yeah.
Okay, for some reason I thought he was a junior, and
no, I think Sam Brown.
I like that idea, having the 2 big guys on the outside, just because behind them, I don't know how much else. And the whole Jacoby George thing, that so mind-boggling. I know it's been beat to death, but the kid's got
obviously,
talent.
Jake, it hasn't been. He's still doing it. You can beat him up, but he's going to still do the same stuff.
Hasn't anyone told him, look, kid?
I trust me. They told him. He's lucky they don't have depth.
Bingo. He's lucky that Nykar and some of these other guys are not really
ready would be over at Miami.
For the kid's own sake, he is an NFL talent. He could play in the NFL, but no NFL team's going to draft him when he keeps doing this idiot shit week in and week out. Is he a first-round pick? No. But is he a fifth-round pick? Yeah. But when you get in a personal foul every single week, they don't care if you have 900 receiving yards. You're a liability. And I just can't believe that somebody who's like a fringe NFL player, they can't get through to him and say, hey, like you're literally playing yourself out of the league.
Well, maybe they ought to put him on the bench and let somebody else play and hope they win. I don't. He's not going to learn anything by continuing to play in these games. He's not.
Yeah, no doubt.
Unless he stops it. But in defense of Horton, he was on the ground. The guy was not letting him up. The clock was running, and he wanted to get off. So he put his foot up in the air to get the guy off him, and they called.
Didn't they pull the flag on that though?
They called the penalty on that. But I don't think it was so. Get the hell off of me!
He was pissed. He needed to get back to the line. I mean, we were at the game. I didn't see anything.
You agree with that, then, right? I thought. I'm not saying it wasn't a penalty, but get off.
No, the guy's this guy off of him. Trying to keep you on the ground. You're trying to get reset. That's fine. I mean, you try to have a little more restraint, but you got to get reset. And hey, if a guy's pinning you, 1 or 2 seconds can mean the game. In a game that tight, I can't blame him for that. And again, it's not problematic. It's not like this is every single week we're talking about. Oh, Isaiah Horton, he's he's
played great. He's been spectacular. I mean, some of these guys, and I think we said it last week, Gary. These guys are baiting Jacoby George.
Oh, it's now a game plan, no doubt. They're baiting our guys to commit personal fouls.
Yep, 100%.
They watched a lot of that 30 for 30, and they know that we have an attitude. And so if
we used to be able to. I wish we still could, but you can't. It's the rules. The rules are the rules. Those are fouls that, again, I wish we could play like that, but at the end of the day, we know they're going to call them on us, and they're going to call them on most teams too. So that's not one where they're singling us out. Yeah. What was I going to say? I didn't watch that press conference on that you had up on CaneSport, but any talk about giving some zone looks or just I like the aggressiveness.
They haven't said it, but I think they're going to do it.
Talk of that.
They're not going to talk about that
schematic stuff. They're not. There's not. I mean, it's an obvious thing they got to be looking at.
Yeah, they're going to be.
I agree. Don't loosen up too much, but just enough so that if there is a missed tackle, it's not 60 yards of open field behind them.
I just don't want Lance Guidry to go soft. That's not Lance Guidry. People say just rush 4, things like that. Like I don't think that's Lance Guidry.
At that Cal game, there were times where it just seemed like the defense was vertical across the field, where like you had 11 guys across the line of scrimmage and there was nothing behind it.
Yeah, like to me, that wasn't about
There's the
playing
shit out of
zone.
me.
That was about guys knowing their assignments and executing them.
Yeah.
And we didn't look prepared on defense the way we need to be in that game. You
Hey,
know,
Gary, your buddy Honeygive is blaming it on Kevin Beard. He can't control George. It's one of the more recent comments, but come on, man, it's not Kevin Beard.
No, I mean, again, that should be Jacoby George. You want to play in the NFL, don't do stupid shit. It's a pretty easy equation. I mean, you got the talent. He put up 900 yards last year. He probably could do it this year.
But they're baiting him. They're probably cursing at him, and they're in those every tackle. You're a piece. You're this. You're that. Your mother this. I'm sure.
Yeah.
And he goes for it. He gets up swinging. He's just got a chip on his shoulder. He's got to contain it. Just walk back to the huddle and shut up.
Catch a touchdown. That's the best way to throw it in someone's face. Score.
All right, Jake. So before we let you go finish that bottle of wine, anything else you got for us tonight?
No, that's it. That's it. I'm thinking
man.
we're in the 40s this weekend, and I'd like to see the defense step up, hold them in the.
Are you worried about this game? What do you think the score is going to be?
Personally, I think it'll be 45-17 or so.
I'll take it. Gary will take it. I'll take it.
If we are for real, I think we beat them down pretty good.
Yeah, I agree.
If we're not, we lose, and we go 10-2 the rest of the way.
Well, we might not beat them down. We could win the game, but we might not play well again. It could be 38-36, 38-30. Who knows?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either, though.
Protect the football.
3 times in a row, and you are what you are. Like, we're just an above it. We're not same plus same, but we're an above average team. Yeah. But 3 close games in a row like that, 3 nail biters. I'm sorry, you can't.
And
you're not going to.
They can't jump. They can't jump on us, and the crowd will be in it, and it will start in the first quarter. We're down. No, we have to come out ready to play right from the jump.
Like Florida, come out, score 17 in the first 20 minutes or so.
Yep.
Put them on the ropes, and if we do that, I think we beat the crap out of them. So we'll see.
All right, Jake. Salute, man. Salute.
Salute.
See you next week.
I'm drinking Fiji water.
727 Kane. Like, I gotta just because we respect an opponent and we recognize that an opponent can do some things also doesn't mean that we don't believe in this team. I mean, we believe this team can go undefeated this year. I mean, we absolutely believe in this team. But we've been life and death to win 2 weeks in a row. I mean, you have to respect that we have not been playing the best that we can play. And you have to respect, that you're playing this week against a good coach that does have some players too. So, we'll see what happens there.
Right, all things being equal, I agree with that, except for the fact we're coming off those 2 games and they've had a bye week to correct some of the mistakes. And it just seems to me that he's got their full attention, unlike in the last 10, 15 years, where the coaches didn't have our full attention of the players. And I think this time they're going to go out there and show everybody that those 2 games were flukes.
Hopefully the Louisville defense can be had. So hopefully it all comes together. I want to go to KMac. I believe he's a first-time visitor on our show, audio only. KMac, welcome to CaneSport Live.
Hey, what's going on, Gary? What's going on, Bruce? How y'all doing?
How you doing, KMac?
What you got for us?
Doing pretty good, man. First off, Gary, I want to say I agree with both of you. Elijah Lofton needs to play. I don't know how you get him in the game, but you got to get the kid in the game. He's too talented.
To change the offense to do it because he's really like an H-back fullback, which they don't use a lot. They use it on the goal line some, but
Gary, he caught a pass 17, 18 yards down the field. That wasn't coming from the backfield. He can get down the field. He can run. We've seen him.
Yeah.
We've seen him, and he can do a lot of damage, and he's a mismatch.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, 5 to 10 packages I think you can find to get him in the game and just utilize that talent, man. I mean, he has too much not to get something out of him.
He's a total freak, man.
Absolutely.
You can build an offense around that guy.
Absolutely, and hopefully, past this year, maybe we'll be able to get to that. The other point I wanted to make or get to, I also agree with you, Gary. I know you might be getting some flack. You got to respect your opponents. I mean, if for nothing else, these kids all work out. They blood, sweat, and tears They work out all the time. They're studying their playbooks as well. They got coordinators that get paid. You got to respect the effort that, these kids, what they put into this game when they come into a football game. They believe they're going to win just like anybody else. And when you start to not think that they want to win like you do, I think that's when you get into trouble. Ask Alabama, do they respect Vanderbilt now? You know what I mean? Ask them, do they give them the respect when they walk to that Vanderbilt game? You can tell that the kids thought they were just going to walk all over these guys, and they're like, we got something for that. You got to respect your opponent. Plus, you're on the road. A lot of things that go with it, man. But just the blood, sweat, and tears. You respect the effort that these other kids are putting in on the sideline. As a football player, if you played the game, you know what it takes to put in there. You got to give that respect regardless. Then you let your play do what it does. Talent and coaching is what makes the difference. But everybody puts in the same effort, man. Guys work hard for this.
Would you agree that Mario has their attention after the last 2 weeks, and he had an extra week to get ready for this game? Would you agree? Doubt. He's got their attention, don't you think?
No doubt. There's no doubt I expect him to come out with an effort similar to Gainesville in that first week. There's no doubt I expect him to come out guns blazing, but I also don't think that they're going to walk into that Louisville game not respecting who's across the sideline. Brom is a hell of a coach, man. They were in the ACC championship last year. We weren't. You know what I mean? You got to respect that. The guy knows how to coach, especially on the offensive side of things. If nothing else, I mean, that might keep it a little bit close, but I'm hoping it's a double-digit win. But the main thing I wanted to call about was the Cam Ward kind of conundrum that we have right now. I know I heard you earlier, Bruce, talking about, somebody saying they don't want to see Superman and things like that. I agree 100%. I would love to see Cam Ward with 250 and a touchdown and 200 yards rushing and all that grand stuff. You want to see the Superman when it's absolutely necessary. But other than that, I would like to see more of a full team effort.
Yes.
I want to see everybody involved.
Yes, KMac. That's what makes you ready for the end of the year.
Absolutely. And what, yes, sir. And I think, Gary, what we're looking at, and I sense your frustration, and I watch you and Matt every morning, man. It's just it's a beautiful thing to watch. It really is. But I sense your frustration, and I think hopefully I can phrase it the way I think that you're trying to come across. When you think about, first of all, I'll never say Cam Ward is the greatest Miami Hurricane quarterback in history. I think that's crazy to say something like that when you think about the history behind it, the guys that laid the foundation, what they mean to that program. I don't think you really want to compare those two things. Do we respect in what he's doing? Absolutely. Love what he's doing. We have never had a quarterback like Cam Ward. And I think it's something for us to enjoy. I don't think we need to talk about greatest ever and all those things. But here's where I think the difference is between a guy like a Cam Ward and even a Peyton Manning and a Tom Brady. Right now, I think the guys are waiting to see what Cam Ward does instead of joining him in making things happen. They're waiting for Cam to be the one to, and I think it's all the spotlight right now that he's getting, and I love it. It's bringing notoriety to the program. It's eyes are on the Miami campus. We got a Heisman favorite. It's all beautiful. But at the end of the day, you have to join him with what he's doing, not watch it, spectate, and then expect him to bail us out when we get into trouble because you've watched and spectated the whole game. You got to get involved. You got to say, hey, rally the troops, get around them, say, hey, we're all great. When you look at Ken Dorsey, Andre Johnson didn't look at him in awe. Andre Johnson said, give me the ball and let's both look good, or let's our team look good. You didn't see Clint Portis sit there in awe of Bryant McKinney blocking for him. I'm taking advantage of. He's opened the holes. Let me get through those holes.
They all get opportunities.
Absolutely. And you get those opportunities because you utilize the skill and the specialty and the talent of the guys around you, not watch it and hope that it carries you through. Do your job to the best of your ability and feed off of what they're doing, but don't let it be a spectacle that you're just watching and not able to get out there and do what you're supposed to do. And I think that's what's happening. I think these guys, the defense is looking at and expecting Cam to go out and throw a touchdown every time he's out there. And no, there's nothing wrong with turning around and handing the ball off and letting the offensive line maul people for a quarter and a half if necessary. Do I want to take the ball out of Cam Ward's hands? No, absolutely not. But let it come within the flow of the game versus making it the flow of the game.
But here's my point on that. I agree to a great extent. However, the guy sees things that people just don't see. He's reading defenses. He's changing plays at the line of scrimmage. He's a step ahead of everybody else. He is a major film rat, and he's very hard on himself. And he doesn't like when he makes mistakes. And I'm sure these last 10 days he's been in that film room every day watching what he did wrong, not just the film on the Louisville defense. So, yes, you'd like to run the ball. You'd like him to throw for 200, 250. But if they're taking the run away, you got to throw the ball. You got to do what's up there in front of your eyes. And he sees things that I don't see. And he's just that smart. So I can't really fault him for being that great of a player, because he is. And everybody has been reaping the benefits. Horton, the other receivers on the team, Restrepo, the tight ends. They're all involved in this. They're not involved. They're not watching him. Maybe the defense is watching him because, holy smokes, look at this guy. So the defense is not the offense. They need to be able to play as a unit, more so than maybe the offense. There's no Jerome's out there. There's no Cortez. They don't have that. They have good players that have to play well. But I don't know if the defense, Gary, is the defense sitting around and watching him? I don't think so. They're in their own little individual huddles.
No, but I get what KMac's saying, and
yeah, I agree.
And to me, that is just a different way of saying what has been my real point this entire week is that I think that if more guys are involved on a regular basis, that will alleviate that problem. I want to see other guys impacting the game. I feel that even though there are some stats there, for the most part, we are the Cam Ward Restrepo show, and they're like I said, they are obliterating the record books if they continue this, and that's all great. But I understand how good of a football team we're going to need to be in another month, okay, to beat the teams that we're going to potentially, if we keep winning, be asked to compete against. And it's a two-man game is not going to get it done when you get to that point.
I don't think it's a two-man game at all. Look at the year Arroyo's having. Look at some of these other guys. But
Bruce, these guys are putting up numbers.
Gary,
See, Bruce, look at all the players. Wait a minute. Look at all the players that have come through this program. The numbers that these two guys are putting up are so out of this world in relation to all of the great players that have come here in the past. And the reason for that is because there were multiple studs that were sharing the load. It wasn't just about Andre Johnson. It wasn't just about Clinton Portis. As great as those guys were.
Look at the guys they had.
Even Michael Irvin, he's a Hall of Famer now. When Michael Irvin played here, it wasn't just about him.
Of course not. But these other guys.
That's what I think we got to get back to be the best we can be at the end of the year.
All right, here's my point. My counterpoint is this. There's been 6 defensive coordinators so far this season against us. How many of them have designed a defense to stop Restrepo? If they're designing it, it ain't working. So why would you go away from that? If they start stopping him or double teaming him, that's another story. He's always open. What do you want from the kid?
He's unbelievable.
He's unbelievable.
Yeah, no argument.
So is the quarterback.
But we're not playing Texas either.
Right. So
we're not playing the level of teams that we got to play at the end of the year.
Gary, 18 players have receptions. SP1 Worrell. Just put it on there. 18.
I understand.
Okay.
I understand. But, I'm just, listen, I know that there's stats. Okay. We're running a lot of plays. There's stats. Isaiah Horton has 31 catches. Sam Brown has 21 catches. Jacoby George has 21 catches. I get it. But I want to see more. I want to see more Arroyo. I just want to see a little bit more when the game is on the line, because I think that's going to be important down the road. Maybe I'm crazy.
Crazy, but maybe Arroyo's in there to help block in those games. They were killing this kid.
My point is, I respect and understand that the level of competition is going to go up substantially when we start getting to Clemson and Texas and those types of teams later in the year. They're going to be unlike anything we've seen this entire season. I personally think we need to be a little bit more well-rounded offensively to be ready for that now is the time to start working towards that. That's just my opinion. Okay,
that's why I want to see the speed backs get in the game too, because that helps too.
100%.
Right. Okay.
Now, I'm gonna get to that in a minute here a little bit, but KMac, anything else for us tonight?
Yeah, no, and I agree with you guys, man. You guys make valid points. Again, I think the well-roundedness would help. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying strip Cam down or not allow him to be or the abilities that he has, allow him to do. I have no problem with what he's doing at the line of scrimmage in terms of seeing sometimes, but he's also not audible into the right play every time either. I don't think that every time he audibles, it has to necessarily be a pass play. I think defenses are backing off enough where he can, check down or audible to a draw play. When you see the linebackers are dropping out of there thinking that he's going to pass it, pretty much every time he audibles, he goes to a pass play. And I think everybody knows that. And so I think we can make some adjustments there as well. But again, for me,
what is your opinion of the offensive line blocking for the run this year?
It's been atrocious. It is not up to par. It is not absolutely not up to par.
So do you blame Cam Ward for checking out of some of those things when he sees 7 or 8 in the box and he sees a run? They call it a run. Of course, I think he's got to do what he's got to do.
Well, I think at that point, as the leader of the team, I think he needs to look at those guys in the face and challenge them. I think he needs to challenge them. That's what the leader of the team does. That's what the quarterback does.
I want to see the damn offensive line win one of these games.
Yes.
I do too.
Yes.
I don't want it to
get in their face.
100 yards. Run the
That's
ball.
what's going to prepare this team for December.
Right. You remember when he was pointing at the line and telling them where we're running the ball? That's what we need. Tell those guys, look, I can let me count on you so much that I can tell people we're running, they can't stop you. Make them believe. When he speaks, people listen. Make them believe. Get those guys involved, man. You got to look, turn around, grab Martinez in his face mask and tell him, come on. I saw what you did at Oregon State up close and personal. I know what you can do. You're not a bum. Come on, let's go. I think that's where I would like to see the Cam Ward, not just the boosting of himself or his celebration after the touchdowns, but get in people's faces, challenge them. The guys will listen to him. Guys will listen.
They have committed to Damian Martinez. He's getting he's literally got almost double the reps of Fletcher.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They have committed to him. He's got to get going. That won't continue. He's got to get going. All right, K-Mac. Hey, great call, man. I hope you be part of the show more often, man.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Go Canes.
Go Canes.
I'm gonna
got some good callers tonight, Gar.
We are. They're great. I want to put this comment on the screen. I hope he's not going to get in trouble for this, but it's AJ Allen's dad. Okay, it looks like. I believe that, he says he's senior, not junior. Okay. His son, when he's had opportunities to play, has been unbelievable. And it hasn't been in the crunch time of games. There are guys ahead of him, and it's hard to argue with the pecking order.
But I said a few weeks ago, and I'll say it, and if that's really his dad, to me, he's the most all-purpose back on his team, blocking, running, and catching the ball. He has the most overall talent. Most of the other guys are pretty one-dimensional, and he should be in the game where he's damn good.
Yeah, listen, I watched practices. Jordan Lyle did beat him out. Okay, there's no unfairness going on. I hope that AJ Allen sticks with this thing. He's a redshirt sophomore. He's developing great. It's a crowded position right now. It just is. But it goes along to my point. Like, these kids are starving to frickin' contribute, man. Mm-hmm. We're hearing from his dad, but these kids are starving to. And they've put in the work. I mean, AJ Allen's a much better player this year than he was a year ago. And
he made some great plays. He jumped over one guy. Yeah, and he was great in the Clemson game.
And last year he was called on a little bit, and he did well. He's way better player this year than he was last year. Jordan Lyle has the potential to be a Clinton Portis, Willis McGahee. And maybe AJ Allen eventually will too, but the point I'm making is that nothing's unfair here. But what you're seeing is there are kids up and down this roster that are dying to contribute to the end result. and they're good enough to do it. And it's the collectiveness of them all, in my opinion, that is going to make the Miami Hurricanes a team that nobody is going to want to play in December if they can keep cultivating this and keep figuring out ways. And it's a big challenge for Shannon Dawson, man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because you got, AJ Allen, you got Lofton, you've got a lot of, Chris Johnson, you've got a lot of really talented kids that are in that room that are capable of impacting victory on Saturday. And you're trying to figure out ways to get them all involved. And, you bring Christopher Johnson on the field and everybody knows he's getting the ball. I mean, this is a tough deal for Shannon Dawson, man. I mean,
but it's a good problem
really,
to have,
really,
Gary, because we haven't had this kind of depth and talent in years.
It is, but you got kids that are starving to do it on Saturdays. And I just hope they get a chance. Okay. Like, I don't have to see Cam and Xavier annihilating the Miami record books while some of these other guys aren't getting to do a whole heck of a lot. I just hope it balances itself out here the second half of the year. I know I'm ruffling some feathers and being out there a little bit. It's just my observation.
Hey, look at 2001 when they had McGahee, Portis, and Gore. Who's the second leading rusher in the history of the National Football League? Frank Gore. Behind Emmitt Smith. That's unbelievable. And he was third string. That's a talented team.
And they all had to wait their turn.
Yep, they all had to wait their turn.
But it's I don't know, man. I don't know. I see. Listen, the coaches, to just try to sum it all up, have done a phenomenal job of building this roster, developing these kids. The training, I think the coaching has been upgraded a lot since Mario first got here. But we're still winning games by by the hair of our chinny chin chin, like we have the last 2 weeks. So when I look at this, I'm saying, how can we get out of that cycle? And I think it's by becoming more diverse, by being more, well, I guess diverse is really the word. Being able to with equal effectiveness, running the ball and throwing the ball, so defenses can't hone in, so that when we play the better teams at the end of the year, that there's no tendencies that they can key on. And feel free to double cover Restrepo if you want.
Yeah, good luck. Right.
But I've got Horton and Sam Brown and George over here who have done it, who are used to doing it, who aren't going to choke in the big moments. And we're going to beat you over there. So I just see so much. What you're seeing from me is passion, because I don't think this team has even begun to become what it can be, and they're running short on time now. And I hope they get there, and I hope they do it, because they are not close to peaking, and they're 6-0 and number 6 in the country. Bruce, that's my parting thoughts for tonight.
I echo those sentiments. I think that they come out this week and beat Louisville and play very well and tighten up all those mistakes and things they were doing, win by 1 or win by 20. I think that's a big game for them. They tightened it up. They're all, look, we've been saying since spring that they're all in on Mario. They're all in on Mario. I mean, maybe a couple of guys here and there who might not play, but they're buying into what he's doing. The coaches are doing a much better job. I can't explain how we got outscored 35-3, and I might not ever in my lifetime, but we did. Now we have to learn from it, and now we have to take it out on the field up there in Kentucky and beat these guys and go 7-0 and get ready. It's one game at a time. And I do think they have the potential to run the table. What happens in the playoffs, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of damn good teams, but a lot of those teams have losses already. Shockingly, they have losses. Look at Vanderbilt. They won again this week. Did they beat Bama? Who did they just beat the other day? They beat somebody else that was pretty good. These teams that could just beat anybody. Oregon beats Ohio State.
They beat Virginia Tech earlier in the year.
Yeah, Virginia Tech's not a bad team. We beat them, but they're not bad. We'll see a little bit more about Duke because they play Florida State Friday night. I don't know who to root for. I normally would root for Duke.
That would be very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, interesting. But, I'm thinking if Florida State upsets them, they may come here thinking, well, we have nothing to lose. We could beat Miami. If Duke beats Florida State, they're probably going to show up down here and say, how much are we going to get beaten by? So, but it would be good to see Duke win and us play Duke down here and get some revenge on them too, because we owe them. We owe a lot of teams. We owe Louisville. Last year's game was horrible. Those two guys collided and they ran for a touchdown. That was terrible.
All right.
Anyway.
Well, thank you. I want to thank everybody that participated in tonight's show. Great show, guys. Let's thank CaneSport for being the presenting sponsor of the show. Again, you can check out their store, 2655 South University Drive in Davie. They got everything the Canes fan could possibly want. So go check out CaneSport. If you can't get to the store, caneswear.com. Program note, tomorrow night, we've got the Lamar Thomas show. We'll be back. Make sure you come back. And the LT shows, I don't know if all you guys have been watching it this year. It's really been good. It's a great couple hours of entertainment. So hopefully you can make it back tomorrow night. Beyond that, all you guys that are traveling to Louisville, I will see you up there on Saturday. We'll be back here next Tuesday night on CaneSport Live.
I'm going to ask Brett if they have a straight jacket in the muzzle. We could put it on number 3 on our wide receiver, because he's got to stop that stuff. They have everything. They may have a straight jacket in the muzzle. I don't know.
All right. Thanks again, everybody, and we'll see you next time.